let's get the recap. Let's get the recap going. My oh my, you guys have been busy. Let's see. You were all attended to various servants at Killian de Kenneth's estate. Let's see. Holden made some friends with a servant by the name of Eddard. Let's see. Cross had a run-in with a warforged known as Senior and directed him to go to the Mournlands. That there might be things there of interest to him. That was very good. Elizabeth wished some madams to be hired to recruit escorts to seduce and possibly be impregnated by Holden and Ludwig, non-dragon marked as they may be. Which, you know what? Why don't we talk about that? just in case, because we're I was like, I think I'm missing something. Just because it's not anything that anyone has said is not like on the table going so far, but it is definitely a little crazy. Let's put it that way. Very mad doctor of Elizabeth. Elizabeth isn't here for it, but I don't think that's necessarily the worst thing. I just wanted to get everyone's opinion on that. I have made it apparent in my session zeros that as long as content is treated with respect, we would leave it onto the table until such a time as people felt that it was being disrespected or too much, essentially. So I wanted to get people's opinion because I know that was probably a factor of why we lost Sol.
Who wants to go first?
I'm not comfortable with it, but so long as it doesn't touch Rowan, I'm willing to ignore it. But like every time it comes up in the chat, I'm like, it's big ick.
It's a big ick, yeah.
Big ick.
Go ahead, Cross, please.
Yeah. I'm kind of in a similar boat. I mean, I'm playing the robot, so I'm effectively immune to this. This doesn't affect me. So,
right.
Since my character's not involved, I don't want to be like saying, no, you can't do that to the characters that are involved.
Right.
So, I mean, I initially kind of thought that it was just like a bit and like not something that actually followed through on to follow through. I was kind of like, I don't know where you're going with this, but I'll at least leave it in the hands of those who are actually like doing it. And, you know,
fair enough.
In the same way as what Carmen said, like, it's not involving me really, so.
Well, and I probably, with great respect, probably want to hear from Holden and Ludwig most of all. But I want to put forth very early on that as the DM, I do intend to stand by my over there, Doc. Stand by my initial like absolutely no sexual assault, rape, anything like that. This is playing with some discomfort lines to be certain, but I just want to assure that it's not going in that direction. That anything in this regard that may happen would be, it's not like they're going to get gassed and have a kid 9 months later. You know what I mean? That's not just good. That's just not. This is hitting like some Dune 2 themes with, I don't know all their names, but that was a thing that happened in Dune 2 that was a little freaky. But I just wanted to put that assurance out there that it's not going in that direction. I'm not going to let it go in that direction. Just to be very clear. But anyway, please, Holden, Ludwig, what do you guys have to say? You're muted. Oh, yeah, there you go.
I just laughed at it. I thought it was weird and just brushed it off. And I kind of just knew, well, that's not happening, and that's the reason I just brushed it off.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. So, like, if this were, so you're kind of like, whatever. If this happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You're like, whatever.
She wasn't gonna get knowing Ludwig. It wasn't nothing like that was gonna happen.
Okay. Well, it's a point to bring up because,
yeah, I see your point. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a point I want to bring up. I don't want people to feel like they're like trying to dodge something off the table because of how uncomfortable it is. So like Ludwig, if you want to like, and it might be a sexual orientation thing, I don't know, but let's just say like you wanted to engage in like a romantic opportunity with like a woman. I don't want you, Derek, to be freaking out about how you're part of some like off table, some like crazy witch doctor shit. If it's compromising the fun of possibly being able to play into the romance of the game, then it's worth bringing up.
Yeah, it's like it's just so weird. I'm sorry.
It is. It's very weird. Some people are comfortable with seeing where those themes go. Some people are not. If you're not, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I had no player me had no interest in pursuing that path. I thought it was just as a one-off thing. That's how I interpreted it. But hey,
okay. Well, let me know because like if this is going to impact your ability to enjoy the game and indulge in like romantic whatevers, or maybe that's not your thing. Maybe you, Derek, don't like to play into romance in D&D, and that's perfectly fine. But if it was, I don't want this to ruin that for you. So you think on it. Let us know. Let me know privately if you feel more comfortable that way.
Yeah, I'll text you more of my thoughts.
Sure, absolutely.
The messenger.
Absolutely. What about yourself, Holden?
Yeah. In character, I don't think it's going to be a problem for me at all. There are... I think that we'll run into some information that kind of makes that moot eventually. But and out of character individually, I don't have a problem with it. I really didn't see it as any more, I guess, what's the word that I'm looking for? Offensive. I didn't find it any more offensive than deceitful seduction, which I think happens a lot in D&D games, at least ones that I've been a part of. To me, this is just another version of deceitful seduction. Whether or not it results in, actual fertilization or not isn't that big of a factor for me. So I didn't have a problem with it personally. I think, and especially, if it's not something that's going to lead to, which I kind of had faith in already, and this wasn't a concern for me, but especially if it's not going to lead into like something as drastic as like sexual assault or whatever, right? As long as we're not going down that path, if it's just a matter of deceiving people into having intimate relations, then I feel like that happens for various reasons in D&D sometimes already, and I'm comfortable with that. I think where it begins to bother me is at the same place, at the same general place it bothers maybe everybody else at the table, is that when it starts to negatively affect players above the table to the point that they no longer feel comfortable at the table, then then it's time to, regardless of what it is, scale it back, right? Like I think we're all fairly liberally minded people, and that it's better to err on the side of not pushing something that's making somebody a little cringy than to do that. So individually, I'm good either way. But if it's going to be something that's cringy for other folks at the table, I'm happy with, coming to an agreement that like we're going to downplay that a little bit.
Fantastic. Understood. So, okay. So as far as I'm hearing, it's weird, but we're going to let it stand for the time being. We don't have any Elizabeth here and now. And as you heard, probably, in the context of off table, as you heard last game, that's still being figured out by Elizabeth's right-hand man. So it's nothing we got to worry about this session. I encourage anyone, if they do have strong feelings and don't feel comfortable talking about at the table, feel perfectly free to let me know. Of course, as always, it'll remain non-judgmental and anonymous, so please feel free. But yes, if this is compromising anybody's fun, if this is going to make people feel like they can't engage in certain places, then we're gonna stay away from it.
I did one other, not to call anybody out specifically, but I know Carmen has mentioned a couple of times that she was in like public chat that she was not comfortable with it. Are you comfortable moving on, Carmen, or are you not?
Muted.
So long as it doesn't touch Rowan, I'll be okay. I can. It's weird, and I don't like it. As soon as it touches Rowan, then there's probably going to be a backlash. Which I'm also perfectly happy to handle in game.
Yeah, and it's something worth pointing out. Like in this interesting political intrigue game that we're playing in, people are allowed to be pissed off. You know, I think there is something to be said about being careful because it does affect reputation and whatever. And in a very Game of Thrones kind of way, we see, maybe Cersei got her revenge not by like screaming and shouting in public, but by blowing them all up in a very secret plot and staging herself for the throne. But again, that isn't to say that like if you feel your character in game would be outraged and whatnot, feel free to play into it. And, just because this is a political intrigue game, you're able to act however you want, take revenge however you want. What have you. We're going to keep we're going to keep trying to move things forward in a good way. But again, if anyone feels uncomfortable anytime, let me know. And I think it goes without saying when people do things that are deceitful, naturally, there's potential repercussions. Maybe I'll have a word with Elizabeth, but it's worth putting out there for everyone, like cause and effect, right? Like if Elizabeth gets caught trying to have Holden and Ludwig secretly seduced to reproduce like experimental babies, I'm sure Eric above the game knows that that's like incredibly deceitful and a betrayal of trust, and that Elizabeth is probably going to get in trouble for that. So cause and effect, more than welcome to play into those. Everyone's welcome to support who they want to support and also be offended by who they want to be offended by. Just be cautious of the repercussions. Okay, so let's move forward if everyone feels comfortable. Understood, Rowan. I think at the very least, I will let Elizabeth know to tread carefully, though I think it's possible Eric knows already. But nonetheless, I will put that forth. Okay, so continuing with our recap, Zolly met with a lady, Shania de Tor, who is there to help Zolly over the next couple of days to try and figure out what to do next politically and whatnot. And lastly, Holden attends court and seems to make a pretty good impression with the Queen. And if we weren't starting with flat neutral, Holden, I would very easily say that you would have earned yourself a positive reputation point last game. But we're gonna be fair and stick with neutral going forward. Sweet. So we had 3 days we were playing into, and we're gonna play into those days. I think it's with good luck that most of our individuals here hadn't completed their 3 days of stuff they wanted to do. So it kind of works out in the end, doesn't it? So you guys have 3 days to do what you want to do. Holden, you have made yourself appear at court. You were sent as a sort of test the waters individual. Who would like to start? You, Fairhaven is yours. House of the Mark of Diplomacy.
Well, we haven't agreed on that just yet, but still.
Off table, it sounds like there's been an agreement. But in game, not quite yet. Do you want to go first, Ludwig?
I thought Carmen held her hand up.
Sure. Rowan, would you like to take a swing at it?
So most of what I think her 3 days were done last session anyways, because we she's spending a lot of time learning the house, learning Killian Estate.
Yeah, that was right. Yeah.
Finances and all that. The only other thing that I was going to have her do is procure the blueprints from the airship, start going over them to pinpoint based on her tour, and the blueprints. Implosions are very, very. They're very difficult. That bomb, that arcane whatever, it could not have just been put anywhere. In fact, there's probably only one specific place on the ship it could have been put. If she wants to try to figure it out.
Absolutely. That they're not just handing out blueprints to anybody. So we will see how you intend to influence that. But before I forget, I kind of skipped over our other two phases that we're going to start with. My apologies there. Obviously, no one's learned any. Yeah. We're going to play it a little loose and fast with tokens of favor going forward, just for now, because I have to go through and figure out where it makes sense. Everyone's already retroactively earned points with individuals and lost points with individuals. We got epistolary. I'm going to say we're going to skip the rumors phase because you guys aren't fully ingratiated in high society yet, and that is where you would find those most relevant rumors. So we're going to say no rumor phase this session. Yep, no token of favor. So we'll just do the epistolary. We'll just do the epistolary phase. But I don't believe anyone will be receiving any messages at this time. Many of you have messages going outward, but it has been a very short couple of days, and the ones that weren't instant are still traveling. So my question is, does anyone have any new letters to send out? It's okay if the answer's no.
I'll send a small letter off to my father saying, a short one saying like, yes, I'm alive and everything. Updating him says, I'm staying with other survivors of the airship disaster, and I'm getting ready to present myself to the Queen. I'll be able to divulge more to you when the time comes. Love and take care. Stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing wrong with a short and sweet message. How would you like to send this missive along? Do you want it just with the basic mail service? Because there is courier service, which is a little bit more secure because someone will personally deliver it. There is the standard mail service, which is just like it gets thrown in with like regular mail, which is cheaper, of course. There's the messaging station, which is exceptionally expensive but instantaneous, pretty much. Which would you prefer?
I'll say standard mail. There's nothing. There's nothing like especially revealing about this. It's saying like, yes, father, took care. It's like there's nothing politically revealing about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes perfect sense. I'm just going to let you know how much you are due.
Oh my.
Well, fear not. You're in for coppers, my friend. You're good.
Yeah, it's got to hop off the last mile to get to the Bastion Keep. Yeah,
so we're going to call that 9 gold for standard mail service.
Okay, 9.
Beautiful. And that's 900 miles. I gotta go. I'm gonna write that down. Let me go gossip. Okay.
And I also left a message saying, please send more money.
Okay, you threw send me more money, please. Absolutely.
Like a college student who got himself in trouble. Like, please help.
A little bit, yeah. Absolutely. Ludwig, 900 miles, letter home, updates, money. Beautiful. All right, that'll get. We'll see if you get a response anytime soon, but it will take a little time for it to get there.
And quick thing. Comment brought this up actually. Since I talked and boosted Madani's reputation up a little bit last game, would that give me a token of favor somewhat, or?
I was going to get to Madani. Yeah, if we want to talk about our wonderful lawyer, we're gonna talk about her for a second. Just because, like, again, I'm introducing the new mechanic. It is we're not gonna be crazy retroactive, but I do want to still give people points where they're due because there has been work going on. So let's pay respect to that. So Ludwig, you've been working. You've been very exceptionally paying your penance with her. So I'm going to say you have 2 relationship points with her.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna give I think everybody else 1 because everyone else has been very kind and accommodating to her. Yeah, let's do that. Sorry, we're doing this a little retro, so I'm not.
Can I veto that because I really put her associate on blast?
That's true. If you want to veto that, you're more than welcome to. That wasn't a blast against her specifically, but yeah, you're more than welcome.
She certainly witnessed me talk shit.
She did. Fair enough. So we'll put you at 1, Rowan, and we'll put everybody else at 1. But you know what? I am going to. Yeah. So yeah, you'll have to bear with me for this first session because I'm getting everything adapted. But yeah, you know what, Ludwig? I will say in the epistolary phase here, you will indeed receive a small letter from Lady Marina de Madani, lawyer of the Advocates of the Chalice. She is going to say, she's going to send you an update. I don't have it wrote, but it essentially goes something along the lines of, it starts with an informational update. And it says, I wanted you to know, and I hope that you will pass the information along to the rest of my wonderful clients, that House Thrash has insisted upon taking full legal responsibility for Zolly de Torn, and has parted ways from this current legal union. I hope you'd be willing to pass that along. And then it will go on to say that she continues to work hard. As she said, she thinks everybody's going to get out quite well, and she's pretty sure she has a fine way of getting Elizabeth out of trouble. And she's very thankful to you personally, Ludwig, for your kindness, for choosing her in a city full of lawyers, and that she hopes you... that everything is going to head in the right direction with these strangers that you've been thrown in with. And she admires your courage in the face of such adversity. And sealed within, there is going to be these are all physical tokens. These are like real tokens in game. Sealed within is going to be this brass star. It's a little brass star, no bigger than not even the size of your palm, about half the size of your palm. It's very small, almost like a charm, almost. And you will have gained indeed a token of favor with Marina de Madani for your help to her in society. So yeah, feel free to mark that down. So yeah, definitely keep track of that, Ludwig. You've got this little gold pendant, brass pendant, this little brass star that she sent you as a token of her favor for you.
Okay.
Cool. That would wrap up the epistolary phase, I think, as that is the only message that need to be sent. And now we will come to proper gameplay. Thank you for your patience. And as we go through NPCs we've already visited, we will speak about where reputation might stand. But we'll play by individual who shows up. So, Rowan, let's get back to you. Sorry, I'm a little jumbled today, folks. I apologize. how do you intend to get your hands on the blueprints? They're not just handing them out.
Okay. So, would something like this have been filed with the Fabricators Guild? Would something like this have been at the Enclave somewhere? Like, there has to be an archive. Or if this is proprietary, there's a proprietary office.
Make me let's call it an investigation or an insight check. It's your choice.
2 new sets of dice. We're at to see what happens.
Hell yeah.
See?
So it's investigation or what?
Insight.
Almost positive this is going to be insight. I mean, it's not great. That was a 10 on the dice. We will take investigation, so that'll be a 12.
That'll be a 12. On investigation, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Through your, trying to figure it out and putting yourself in contact with your most, helpful people, which is House Kenneth, they would tell you that naturally they did have not full schematics by any measure, but they definitely have schematics of the elemental bindings. They do have a lot of information about that. As it pertains to it, a lot of the information it's basically been sealed as it's considered to be, there was going to be a royal gala. So the blueprints were kept very much under wraps, under protection from House Kenneth or by House Kenneth. The only individual in the house, there's only 2 individuals in the house who would have had access to them, which would have been Jorlana de Kenneth herself. And the man that you learned was the actual head engineer, and of course his team. So I'm just looking around for him. Where are you, Kenneth?
Raymond de Kenneth.
That's right, Raymond de Kenneth. Thank you. I need to organize my victims better. But yes, Raymond de Kenneth and his team would have had it. After the completion, those were sort of put under wraps, put under seals. And you would also know that they are House Kenneth West is currently, cooperating with the Ondarian royal court, specifically the Royal Eyes of Ondare, because, a ship blew up and it looked a lot like an assassination attempt that was mostly successful. Mostly. So they were sealed. That might have loosened because, the damage has been done, but the Royal Eyes of Ondare probably definitely have their hands on them. And House Kenneth would have copies as well. But like I said, they're not just handing them out.
Then I guess I would go to the Baroness's office, or actually, let me, because we did say that she spent a lot of time figuring out the house, and that was really her priority. If all she does is figure out where she needs to go, let me set aside her. She really has had a lot to do. Let's focus on others, because we did say that last time. In all honesty, that because she didn't roll great, so she's still really having a hard time wrapping her head around like accounting.
Got it. So you're trying to wrap your head around accounting. You probably sent somebody just like as a messenger to Kenneth Estate, and this is kind of what you got as like it was sort of more or less like a no, and here's why. But no doesn't always mean no. So that's a soft no probably in Rowan's mind, because if you push hard enough, you get what you want. Understood, but perfect assessment. Okay, Holden Ludwig Cross, who would like to take a swing at it?
I'll give something a shot.
Hell yeah.
The place Holden took us the very first night. I want to find. I'm just looking at the list of characters. Is it Hessel Fonda the guy that was like Holden's pal, his little friend?
That is right. His little buddy. Yes, I'll repost his handout so we can see it. Yes, Pasil Fonder was the contact you met that night. That shady fellow.
I want to go to the place we went the first night and see if he's there. Or I guess start looking for him.
Holden, I'm going to say that you just have a. I'm going to give you a 3 relationship points with Pasil because you would have started with a 2. He's your buddy, and you also paid him for his hard work. So that'll give you 3. Okay, you want to go taking a look around for Pasil Fonder. I assume you're going around Holden. You're just trying to like get to him directly.
I mean, Holden's at court right now, and so he's not someone I can reach. So this is
over the course of the 3 days, he's not going to stay there all day. Like he'll show up.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and play that out.
Oh, I am a part of this.
So you're going to court and like you were sent there as like a sort of preliminary scout, but that doesn't mean that you're like locked inside of the castle. Like you'll leave at the right time and you can talk to everybody and still do things around the city.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I meant, is that what Nathan meant? Is that he's going to have a conversation with Holden about it or not?
Kind of going behind Holden's back, to be honest, on this one.
Yep.
Oh, all right. Hell yeah. How do you intend to go about finding Pasil Fonder?
I mean, I want to start with the one place I've seen him, and I guess ask the staff there if they've seen him recently, or like where he's been, where he frequents.
Got it. Make me a persuasion check.
It's a 10.
10. You say, we haven't seen. I mean, like we saw the fellow the other night. Not our usual sort of individual. We don't know where he got that kind of money. And on the night of the bombing, too. He gave us some name where he put it under. Varro, I think, was what we have in our books here. But we haven't seen him since. He's stayed one night, and there were some individuals who came in and out of interest. And guards were in and out. It was a whole thing, but we haven't seen him since.
Is Varro, does it mean anything to you, or?
I mean, I don't deal with the he like looks left and right, kind of leans over. He goes, I don't deal with the like lower kind of the city too much, but I get the sense that might have been some kind of alias or whatever. Or, inclined to wear the hood, always asking for the soundproof booths. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you for your time, all the same.
Now, Cross, this isn't the end of the line. There might actually be a little bit of hope for you because we'll say as you come back from this like a little bit of a dead end, you're going to perhaps you're gonna spend time at the the Kenneth estate. Perhaps.
I was gonna I think we talked about having like a day we'd sort of check in with each other every so often, so I would pop back for at least that.
Fair enough.
Rowan had sent you a letter that had when the meal times were and signed that this is kind of when we're gathering. You're welcome to come by. So you have an open invite to leave and come and go as you please to kind of escape.
Yeah. In that case, I would consider I would arrive at one of said meal times.
Fantastic. So the day that Ludwig, you'd receive your letter, and you know what? It's fine. We're going to keep playing in this sort of whatever mishmash of 3 days. So Ludwig, you'd receive your letter from the Madani. I will say it was back in Victorian times. It was very popular. A very popular thing to do was to hand around letters and to show off letters, or I got this letter from my uncle out of town, or this my lawyer sent me this lovely letter, or what have you. A very popular thing to do.
How lovely it is to read now.
Yeah.
I can
exactly.
also write.
That's right. Sure. So yeah, that is a popular thing to do. So maybe at your discretion, maybe you're doing that. Like, oh, isn't Lady Madani so nice and handing over the letter? But entirely your discretion. But regardless, that first night where you get that letter, Ludwig, and it tells you basically Zolly has departed ways from the party legally, at least. There is going to be a visitor at that sort of morning luncheon, shall we call it, where a rather interesting looking half orc, surprisingly slender in a black dress and makeup and looking about a half orc who looks about as slender as a half orc as you've ever seen and fits in with Onder about as much as you've ever seen a half orc fit in, which is not to say that it looks like she fits in terribly, but she does have an elegance to her. Your chief butler would present her, Rowan. Lady Shayna de Torn, house consultant of House Thrash, enters the room, and you will again see her in all of her glory. And she walks with a very refined elegance about her, and she will sort of curtsy before all of you at the table. And say,
Rowan
I
will-
hope I... Oh,
Rowan
please.
will stand to greet her.
Excellent. Stand to greet her. She will
And bow
curtsy very...
accordingly.
Absolutely. Bow accordingly. She will curtsy
I shall
accordingly.
as well.
Ludwig shall as well. But are we assuming everybody would like to?
Yes, at the same time.
Show due respect.
I'll also give
Okay.
a bow.
Fair enough. Okay, everyone shows a little bow. And she will say, good afternoon. She goes, I hope I am not disturbing your luncheon too intensely.
You're welcome. Join, eat, please.
Oh, you're too kind. And one of the house staff will pull a seat back for her, and she'll sit. Again, she holds herself with poise, straight back. After definitely a culture shock from Zolly, he was a little bit more elbows on the table, a little bit more down dirty, ready to go do the business. This member of House Thrash seems to be more Ondarian, shall we say, culturally. And she says, they're a little bit of, she says, so how is everyone adjusting to life in Fairhaven? It has been a rather strange couple of days.
Speaking for myself, I've adapted quite well, I'd say.
It's good to hear.
Yes, I'm not entirely unfamiliar with Fairhaven. I've visited before, and it's quite as I remember it.
Excellent to hear.
I'm looking forward to meeting with the Queen.
Indeed, she has called all people. I must say that I do come partially on business, though I must compliment you, Lady Decaneth. Your home is the hospitality is exceeds all expectation.
You are welcome.
Well, thank you. I hope you don't find it too crass for me to tell you part of the reason why I'm here today. I'm sure you have much to discuss. I do not wish to take too much of your time.
This is food. You're welcome here. Oh, you have all the time you need.
Glad to hear. Good to be comfortable. Or careful, but better to be comfortable. Well, I must say I am very thankful to all of you for how well you have treated the member of my own house, Zolly de Toren. She has expressed her fair treatment and the kindness of this group during these most strange times. I come to express that on her behalf, but with regrets. We'll say, if you have not heard already, that House Thrash has decided to deal with the legal issues surrounding Zolly de Torn personally. But with that said, I might compliment, I think it was Mr. Urdreger who found the Lady Madani. She is sharp-witted.
Yes, indeed I did. She lives up to her reputation.
Well, I'm glad to hear it, and I wish you all the best in the coming days in front of the royal court. Very exciting. Excellent. Lady DeCanneth, do you mind if I have a moment of your time private?
Rowan immediately stands up. Absolutely. And we'll actually show her to like where her private workshop is and sit down and sit with her.
It's magnificent. My house is a little less advanced, as I'm sure you might note. It is interesting. I have not spent much time in Kenneth workshops.
It's still new to me too. I'm still getting used to it.
Well, I must say, of course, I must give you my sincerest regrets for the events that occurred. I am led to believe that you had someone very important to you on that ship and that you are in mourning.
This is my uncle's house. I was with him.
Again, my deepest condolences for the tragedy that occurred. I might also, with that said, add an apology on behalf of House Tarashk. I've been led to understand that some exceptionally truthful words, shall I put it, were passed between you and Lady Zali de Torn. We come from Drone, and Drone is a place of blunt accomplishment. Not so elegant as here in Onder, which you are much more used to. And I wanted to take the opportunity to apologize if anything was said in poor taste towards your house.
Thank you. There's no apology needed. I'm newly marked as far as being marked goes. And this is still new to me, right? So I know that not everyone loves the house. I would like to move my house in a more progressive direction. I can't change the past, but man, I'd really like to change the future, right? So if your house has a grievance with mine, I'm clumsy in diplomacy. I just graduated from college, right? I mean, what do I know? But I'd have there be peace between us. And clearly I handled that wrong, so I apologize for my ineptitude.
Nonsense. Yeah, I come for the same purpose. It is to the wish, I think, of all dragon-marked houses that we do not have a repeat of certain histories. The War of the Marked is an example. These are dark times with the Mournland and tensions and so on and so forth. I simply come on behalf of House Tarashk for the same spirit of peace and understanding. Despite any rivalries, and perhaps I might even admit between you and me certain jealousies of perhaps the success of your own house, that we all wish to move towards good things despite petty grievances.
And so what can we do for you? Right? Like what can we do to make that better? How can we work together better?
Lady DeCanneth has a great mind of hospitality. Perhaps you might have more in common with that halfling house of hospitality. Your kindness is immense. But from what I understand from Zali, that it sounds like you and your friends have enough on your plate. Perhaps once all of this nonsense with the Ondarian court is figured out, maybe indeed we might speak again of such things, of peace in the future, but I would not want to make your plate too full.
I would like that very much.
Indeed.
I would like that very much.
Well, know that I have been personally dazzled by your workshop and am happy to have met you, Lady Rowan de Caneth. I will go now and get to dealing with my own things, as you have much to deal with your own, and simply give you my respects, my thanks, and of course my apology.
And she'll give her kind of the warriors, like what she would have seen Lahesh is how she will say goodbye to her.
Yeah, you hit the arm thing, and despite her sort of outside sort of dainty Ondarian princessy appearance, like you go in for like that, which if you hit any other like Ondarian noble lady like that, they'd be like, what by the Sylvan House? But no, like you completely sees that, and like you see like the posture does like drop into that like almost barbarous shrug, and she kind of boom hits you with that, and she gives you a little look of like nice, and then she will return to her elegant pose, give you a curtsy goodbye, and we'll depart the house. But Cross, you are looking for somebody. Would you have any interest in bugging the minister Shania de Torn? Mark of finding.
Yes.
Excellent. So as she is departing the house with ease and a smile on her face, you wish to stop her in the hall?
Yes, I do.
Right, you stop her, and she sees that you have wish to speak to her, and she will give you the polite curtsy and say, "Good afternoon. Your name is you're a diplomat, Cross, if I'm not mistaken."
Yes, I'm the ambassador from New Syria. I brought this up with Zali, but I think this might be more of a contract, perhaps, for your house itself. Like any of my kind, I fought in the last war, but I was gravely injured by the morning, and I don't have much memory of a time before the morning happened, such that I don't even really recall my original master.
I am sorry to hear that.
Well, I had asked Zale to perhaps aid me in the search for them, but in having had time to think on it, it might be better just to take out a formal request with your house to find them for me.
House Thresh is always happy to help people with their needs and findings. I would be more than happy to send one of our inquisitives your way, if that is what you wish. I myself am more of a, like you, a speaker person, but would be more than happy to make someone available to you.
That would be most helpful.
Well, you can expect someone within the day, perhaps. I will see to it immediately.
My thanks.
And indeed, let's get you a finder. Fantastic. And then she will indeed depart the house. In fact, she'll probably take you, if you're willing, should take you with you to the Enclave. And indeed, she will. Yeah, fantastic. I will need to create this individual as we go. Okay. Pinterest, give me art. Okay.
Everyone say thank you, Pinterest.
Exactly, exactly. Um, I really should just have like NPCs like back like one guild member each ready to go. But anyway, you find yourself visited by this. She brings to you this. Let's see, what does he look like? Let's see, half orc ranger. Sorry about a moment. Oh yeah, you're gonna love this guy. You find this little bit scruffy looking, a little bit older. He's got a side cut black hair, half orc, no tusks protruding. He is in very well to do armor you expect for the Ondarian climate. A little warmer. There is some furs kind of mantled on his shoulders very lightly. He does have a cloak. Well armed, subtle, a neck scarf, but most interestingly has a falcon that sits on his shoulder with a rather sort of grim look on his face. He's a very intense looking individual. And the minister, Shania Torn, will say, allow me to introduce to you Inquisitive Arvin Whisper du Torn. Handout coming in. And he will nod at you, and she'll say, I'll leave you to speak. And she will smile and nod at you and depart the company. This individual, less polite in society, might remind you a little more of Zolly in this moment, sort of plops down in front. He doesn't put his boot up or nothing, but he certainly isn't one to mince word. And he says, you are seeking something.
That I am. Someone, in fact. But forgive me, but I am not too familiar with your house, so I would like to propose a test just to see if the skills of your house are true. So call it a simple search, and then we'll get to the main event after.
As long as you pay for the services, I'll find what you wish sought.
Wonderful. I'm looking. I do not know Pacel's actual name, so I'm going to have to use the alias, which I think was Varo. I think.
I think Pasil introduced himself to you all. He came to the room, so you would know him as Pasil Founder.
Yeah,
he did.
I'm looking for Seal Founder.
Okay. He doesn't write anything down. He doesn't do nothing. He just keeps staring at you.
He last I saw him, he was in I don't know the name of the place, but
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I would like to speak with him, but unfortunately, he likes to move with an alias of Varro, whatever the hell it was.
Varo. Yeah.
Yeah, Varro. So he has been difficult to get to find.
It was Varo, Pasil Founder. What does he look like?
A human, brown hair, sort of slight beard, roguish, I would say. Certainly of the lower denizens of Fairhaven.
Okay. At least he's not a problem. I will get to work. Is there any other information you have of the individual?
He's an associate of Holden Lackyard, a companion of mine, but I would rather he not know that I've been searching for Basil. I assume discretion is part of the service.
Discretion is always part of the service. He will not know I am there.
Wonderful.
Does this Holden have any special abilities, dragon mark, magic, anything of the like?
Cross will sort of like sort of lower his mask to reveal his his dragon mark. You might not be familiar with this one, but Holden will have some ability to charm or persuade you.
I see. Not to worry. I don't intend to speak with him. I will follow.
Wonderful.
He will. Let's see. How much do we think these services are costing us? Well, doesn't it tell us anything?
That's about where I discovered they cost like 500 gold, and they would walk out really head down. Like, I'm sorry.
It's
Prince only gave me so much.
Only gave me so much. No, I don't think it's going to be that much. Finders Guild. I don't think we're gonna get prices, but let's just see if we're lucky. I'm gonna say he's going to say, okay. This does not look. This doesn't seem too dangerous. You just want me to tell you of him. You're not even bringing him back. I can bring him back to you. Do you want him in a bag? Do you want him?
Oh, no, certainly unharmed. Just tell me
unharmed
where I can find him.
Ah, okay. That is easy enough. Why don't we call it? Let's call it 4 gold before, 4 gold after he's found. If he's not found within how many days would be preferable?
Within 3, preferably, before.
If he's not found within 3 days, you do not need to pay the finder's fee after he's found.
Deal.
All right. And he stands up and walks out of the enclave. We'll see if that turns up. We'll see how Mr. Arvin Whisper de Torn does. We will see. Wonderful. Cool. Well, why don't we circle back to you then, Cross? Because I got to do a roll for Arvin, and maybe what Holden decides to do will determine if his success levels. But yeah, we'll circle back to you. Let's make our lives a little simple here. Holden, do you intend to reach out to? Well, that's the thing is, do you intend to reach out to him personally at any point?
My expectation was that he would come and find me. The last we'd talked, I had expressed to him that I wanted to know what was going on at the light rail station, who he saw coming in and going out. And I didn't really leave instructions for like meeting him somewhere at a specific time. So I just assumed, he knows generally where I'm going to be over the next few days. So I would assume he was coming to me at some point.
Got it. He'll meet you at the gate. Understood. Okay, so I'm gonna just do a quick little look about here. So yeah, because he's gonna come and give you some information. Where? Oh man, there's so much information. Where are you, Markov? Handling. Okay, here we go. So he comes to see you later that day, Holden, probably in the evening. We'll see that there's he does like a little like light thing like at the window. He catches you, like a sort of thieves' camp Morse code situation. You come out to see him. He goes, how's it going, Holden? Having fun in your mansion?
Actually, it's been even more regal than that. I had audience with the queen today and a number of nobles of the city.
Well, I can't wait for this to become. Oh fuck, that's the wrong accent. Because Well, I can't wait for this to become, our house like you're talking. But anyway, I'll be paid for my work and I do my work well. Yeah, a whole bunch of people come by Lightning Rail. There's people from House Vidalis, which is the House of Handling. So they're there. Let's see. There's people from all the different Dragonmark houses are coming out of the woodworks. There's a representative from Thrain. So there's a diplomat from Thrain who showed up, which is interesting. All sorts of people. Is there anyone particular you're interested in?
Not anyone
I can just list them off. I mean, all the people coming in and off all day.
Sure. Not anyone in particular. I suppose mostly just the information that you give me is what I was looking for. People that you might be able to identify as being from particular houses or particular places. And also any really identifiable individuals. I'm not sure how much you follow the national news, but anyone that you might notice specifically, although I didn't really expect that would be the case. I'm assuming most of the people that you know individually are here in Fairhaven.
Let me give you a little help. The big wigs, like the real big wigs, not like these regional managers of the houses, but like the barons. They don't travel on the Lightning Rail. Their time is much too valuable. They're probably coming through teleportation circles. They got the money for it.
Sure. I suppose I was more looking for the folks that I think you've expressed you've seen who might support such people during their stay here. So I think that's valuable information, and I appreciate it. There was one other thing. You'd said to me before that you knew how to get in contact with the people that had contacted you about contacting me to come to Fairhaven. Do you remember that?
Dude, yeah. That's actually really weird. I'm glad you brought me that up. Knights Arcane are all over the fucking place. They've hired fucking Thrash. They've hired fucking Madani. They've got their own, whatever they're called, the Royal Eye people all over it. I'm Australian now, so just run with it. But like all the old haunts been like locked down and whatnot. There was some talk about like this. They were keeping it low, but I managed to get a little peek. I think they all got killed, Holden. I didn't see any bodies or anything, but there was let's just say there was some red shadings through some of the windows.
Oh, the people we're talking about the same people. The people that passed on our little package. You believe they're dead?
Yeah. I went to their their rendezvous as they called it, to see if they were around. And, the place is it's like real hush hush. I'm surprised I didn't get caught, actually. Like, it's business as usual. It's not locked off or anything. But, there's some sketchy people around. So I was keeping my head down and thought I'd pass by the window and give a little peek inside. And the windows have been mostly blinded, but I caught a little edge, a little of the corner. And there, let's just say there was a wall with a certain splatter pattern across it. They could still be alive, but it was a lot.
Understood. I wouldn't imagine that they would be then. Do you mind? Could you tell me where that place is? I might go and take a look for myself.
Oh yeah. Listen, Holden. Seriously, be careful. You won't see it at first, but the place is being watched. It's been watched pretty hard. But yeah, let me tell you, and he will give you like a street and address in there, or in Fairhaven, excuse me. Go down Maple Street, and yeah, he tells you it's like a corner house, in one of the lower residential districts.
And what about? So you said I believe you told me before you didn't have any information prior prior to those folks. You don't know who their contacts were on the other end, on the originating end.
They found me. They found me, and they told me that they needed like a really good smuggler, and that's all I really knew. There's no names or anything passed around. That's fairly normal though. But yeah, that's all I really know.
Ah, interesting. Okay. Well, if you would keep your ear to the old rumor mill about what may have gone on there, and uh, if it seems or we hear any news of anyone making any progress backward on that trail to the point of origin. In the meantime, there was one other thing. This is an easy one, although you may not know. Are you familiar with a let's call it an establishment of nightly entertainment known as the Shaken Strumpet?
I mean, I practically live there.
Perfect. Could you direct me there as well?
Sure. I'll come with you if you want.
Well, we may have to set that up. I'm not sure that's on my agenda immediately, but maybe we'll get together again and take a trip out that way and enjoy ourselves for the evening.
All right. Well, if you just and he'll tell you where to go. the shaken strumpet, it's called.
Yeah, I believe so. That was so. Just as a reminder, I had asked Rowan during a conversation where it was that she'd previously tended bar, and she said it was at the Shaken Strumpet.
Oh, my apologies. So he'll say no. He's never heard of a shaken strumpet before, but he's met a couple. And as a reminder, I believe Rowan said that. Oh no, Rowan didn't say no. He just said no. I could look around.
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, cool. I gotta take good notes in this campaign.
Yeah.
So it's a 3-day journey. So I will tell you that he does show up the next day or whatever, and tell you that that establishment is in Fairhaven. Yeah, it's not there. Okay. If I'm correct, Rowan, of course. Yep. Okay. Cool.
He did actually say that was in Whitehearth.
Oh, okay, great.
Oh, you did say it. Okay, I didn't want to assume. Okay, yeah. So he'd say no, and then you recall she said it was in Whitehearth, which is in Syria.
Perfect.
But with that, Cross, you are visited. You're not staying at the estate. You're staying in your own place. Yeah. You just got like a knock on the door. Your kind of wiry half orc is waiting for you, and he says. He comes to front gate of Killian Cannith estate. He meets there, it seems, daily, near front gate.
I see. What does he go after?
He goes all over. There doesn't seem to go to only one place. I've only followed him the one day, but he was asking around about the brothels mostly.
Say a particular one.
Shaken Strumpet, I believe. I never heard Shaken Strumpet in Fairhaven.
In Fairhaven, huh? Well.
He's also, I tell you, he seemed shaky. He was talking to this Holden about he'll give you the address as well. He says about this place with how do I say discreetly being watched by the royal court, possibly a murder that's being kept under wraps.
Well, that is mighty interesting. And I'll consider that a... Mind if I give you let's call it a small tip for that? And I hand over 6 gold rather than the 4.
Yes. I very appreciate, and if you ever require my services, you know where to find me. I'm always in Fairhaven.
I'll consider this my test passed, so my, let's call it, big job. Would you like to hear the details now or later?
Hear details now.
All right. The main crux of the job is I'm looking for my former master from from the war. But I was a victim of the morning, as you can plainly see, and I don't remember who they are. My identifying marker was seared off by whatever caused the morning, so I do not know what they look like, and I cannot be tied to them.
Tricky.
Turkey.
Usually easy to track for Warforge because of Mark. No Mark, more tricky. Are you from... What do you know of past? You from Fairhaven on there?
I don't know which side I fought on, but I know that based on where I was found after the morning, I was posted somewhere on the north side of Siri.
Oh, and I'll tell you what, Cross. These are pretty personal details that perhaps you might wish to leave to yourself above table. If you want to say that you unveil relevant details to
certainly
this
anything that
individual.
would inform upon possibly someone could use that information to actually figure out what my platoon was or whatever based on like purely deployment information.
Absolutely. I'll assume nothing. The basics are told. Where you were here, where you were there, where you were there. Absolutely. Let's see. He hears it all. He says, "Okay. This is out of Fairhaven. Do you wish for me to do the job personally, or do you wish for me to outsource?"
I think based on the expected difficulty of the task, it may be necessary to outsource.
Indeed, it is this larger job than one tracker. Might be better to put multiple eyes on it. All right, let's see. Investigation services. It is complex case you've put before me. It is expensive what you ask of House Thrush. It will probably be, let's see, there's no conspiracies or espionage, or you're just trying to find a missing person. Standard case. I want you to make me a general charisma check. And we're going to see how much this guy's going to price you at.
All right. Oh God, I'm not rolling good today. That's 9.
9. He says, "Are you aware of any magical interferences? Any magical interferences you think might be involved?" I will tell you this: if we will begin to look, it will cost. It's going to cost about 75 gold pieces a day. It is a lot.
It's like
you come back to me.
A gallon of smoke sort of billows out.
Because a service is expensive, especially if outsourcing. He goes, he sort of looks at you. He goes, "I could go as low as 50. I would commit Thrash trackers to finding this person, but we would hold investigation if we find out that the target is in dangerous territory, such as the Mornland or Zendrix, or if there's some sort of magical interferences, there might be an upcharge, but it will end up being, I can do it the best 50 gold pieces a day for House Thrash services in this."
But the table, I'm in the employ of like, I'm a diplomat. I don't know how much I'm being paid basically, or if I
It's
even
true.
have a wage.
It's true. Yeah, a lot of that's a little wishy-washy for sure. I think that they put some money in your pocket, and when you get back, they'd pay you. If you wanted to say like, hold that, and then contact New Siri and see if they'd be
Yeah.
willing to forward you some money, we could definitely look into that.
For the moment, consider the job on hold. Let's say currently in the middle of work of my own for the Prince in New Syria. I would suggest, and I'll pass on the funds for this, send a letter to the royal court in New Syria and state that I have made a request of House Thrash for your services to find my former master.
Very well.
I suppose I'll leave it in the hands of the court to decide if my search is worth the spend.
Fair enough. And he will take off. For your knowledge, Cross, you're considered in this moment. You're a diplomatic envoy, so you would be considered to be. I will say, because this is sort of a politically sensitive mission that you're currently on. You're probably being paid. You're probably being paid like 300 gold for this particular assignment. Technically, you've already succeeded in getting the feel of, but you take it as far as you want. Because she said she might be willing to do that. You might feel the need to secure that after certain events, but technically you're being paid 300 gold for this particular mission. You could have that forwarded to you, sure, through the banking system if you wanted to. That could be very easy.
Sure.
Sure. We will say that to make life easy, New Siri pays for the House Civis report. Well, you already sent the letter, didn't you? You sent the letter that had the information of your stuff. I'm just going to say fuck it, and you send like a missive through House Conduct to New Siri of your completion, and no messages sent that would become through House. No messages being sent yet. They're awaiting the details of your letter, but they're happy to forward you forth your payment, so you can have 300 gold pieces to your inventory. And you are considered a successful envoy. They are interested in awaiting your letter with the extrapolated information, and you're technically a free agent to return to New Siri when you're ready.
Cool.
Obviously, the prince might prefer it sooner rather than later, but certainly circumstances are extreme right now, but understand.
Certainly frees me up a little bit.
Frees you up a little bit, absolutely. So you're paid for your job with talking to the queen. Okay, cool. So we've been with you for a minute, Cross. You got your information. You're going to find Passil pretty easily. Let's loop around. Ludwig, Holden, why don't we hear from you guys?
If I could get a chance, like one night he would try to catch Roman alone and try to speak with her for moments.
Absolutely.
Carmen, you there?
I'm here. I'm having technical issues. It's all right.
The artificer's having technical issues. Interesting.
And she can fix them though.
Mm-hmm. She did fix it. Yeah, I presume she's alone in a workshop for a moment. One night.
Actually, yeah, she'd probably be in there just general tinkering on stuff. Spot's probably by her, and she's probably absently throwing a ball as Spot retrieves it while she's like working on like a little owl figurine that just kind of hops and hoots.
Interesting.
It's a children's toy.
Yeah, he'll open the door and knock on the side, like on the wall. Like, can Anthony come in?
Yeah, come on in.
And I close the door and come on down. But I see you're not alone. Who's your friend here?
Oh, Spot! Let's all stop. Look up. And like turn around in one stop. And then his little robotic, like run at full tilt up into you, but then stop, like right when he gets up to you and sits.
Hello there. It's a curious little toy you've made.
That's Spot. He's he's more than a toy, but he's a good boy. He's a good boy, and she'll throw something else for him to go catch.
And he goes off to get it again.
Yep. Very, very lifelike for a machine. Strangely so, Ludwig.
Somewhere in between a wind-up toy and a Warforged, I'd say, perhaps.
Right now, it looks like a machine that's frolicking and having fun, which is either really cool or really disturbing.
At this spot, I can hear him right now.
The voice simulator is really working.
Just like, I suppose you can't get much time alone. I'm sorry about interrupting you here. I presume you don't get much time alone in here, given the recent events. And he finds a chair to sit down in.
Not much. Got a couple quiet moments. So.
Well, I'm sorry for intruding on them, nonetheless.
On your mind?
I've just been thinking. I understand. Like, I've been thinking back to that negotiation with House Madani we had. The only way that could have gone worse is if a fireball went off.
Not true. Could have gone much worse. For us, could have been much worse.
Probably.
In fact, that wasn't actually all that bad.
If I may be blunt here, this is your house. Part of me is somewhat glad it didn't go that way. I understand, and the others' hesitation about aligning with a house that wouldn't give us independence to maneuverability and flexibility to do as we pleased. But given that we're getting off the ground, it might be best to ally with the strongest house. That might be the best thing. But
So I'm going to say this. We're not in a place to be thinking about houses right now. We're just not there yet. See, I think that some of us maybe are a little more likely to come together as a team, and I think not everyone is there yet. So maybe if we did something, maybe if we worked together once and find out what our common goals are, right? Because look, like it's great to say we should start a house, and Lady Madani is right? Like she's totally for right. Completely. We have greater advantages starting a house, but we got no business starting a house, right? Not unless we have something in common that we're doing together, like with each other, like something that unifies us. And right now, that's maybe not where we are. So I think the course of wisdom is to do that first. Let's get that first. And then let's find out what unifies us. And maybe that's what's going to inform our opinions. No, in full. All right, Spot, thank you. Thank you.
he wants oil.
I'm going for realism. You should have seen my mentor's dog. Oh, Ajax was a beast. But I'm not there yet. So anyway,
I see your points. I'm getting ahead of myself potentially.
I think so. Once once we know what our needs are, that can inform what house we choose. Kenneth made us a great, specifically Kenneth West, right? Because Kenneth's in 3 parts right now.
They are.
When
There's
the
no one House Kenneth at the moment.
So when the morning happens, our all of our barons, our high seneschals, along with a number of our assets and families, were gone with the mist. Above the table, would Rowan know that the reason that they are broken into 3 pieces is because there's something scandalous in Jorlana's background?
Make me a history check.
I feel like I don't want to assume that. All right, I'm going to roll the other dice. I got 2 new sets of dice and see what this other one does. I think this is about to be a 17. Yeah, 17.
Okay. You are be aware that they're not. It's a complex political situation. It's not all on Jorlana. There are 3 people jockeying for the position, and each one of them has their pros and cons, which contributes to the stalemate. Like, Jorlana is excellent in heritage and passion and charisma, but yeah, she has the scandalous background, whereas Zorlon is basically the one in a stalemate with Jorlana, but he's considered to have gone native with the Carnathians, and then Merrick's is technically in the running, but he's not as popular as the others. But people are waiting for his great innovation, but they consider him a little too young. And so, point being is that one of the things playing against Jorlana is her scandalous background, but just as she has her, shall we say, political shortcomings, so too do the other 2. It's a complex situation. It isn't all on her to be where they are.
Does Rowan know that Jorlana is better seated amongst the 12 than Zorlon?
Better seated as in, like, she has a better heritage?
She's actually better regarded amongst the 12. It's canonically, it's something that pisses him off that he's from Karna, but the 12 looks, and she actually splits her time between Fairhaven and Korth, I think is where they are.
Well, yeah, Korth. Roll me another history check, because this is about Jorlana.
Yeah, this might be a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Ludwig's not hearing any of this.
Yeah, no, this is to see what I know, because I don't know what I know.
You don't know what you know. It's an unknown unknown.
Uh-huh.
An unknown known, technically.
17.
Yeah, you would know that she is very into uniting the Dragonmarked houses, and she has very potent diplomatic ties to both the 12 and the Druids of the Aldine Reaches.
Thank you. So when the morning happened and everything in our house kind of collapsed, there was no clear successor. There were 3 who could have. Zorlan up in the north, Merrick's in the south, and Jorlana here. There's something scandalous in Jorlana's background. I don't know what it is. I mean, things are so weird in the Dragonmarked houses. But what I know is she's always wanted to unite, to have the Dragonmarked houses work together. She's better considered amongst the 12. She regards diplomacy as being of paramount value, right? She's looking to move Corvair past the walls. Why I'm here. but we're looking at the real possibility, right? That the house is split. So, like, I guess Fjarlin and Thorani at one time were one house, but then they separated at some point. So, chances are Kenneth's already separated, and it's likely to stay that way. There are benefits to having the prestige, but being in a smaller group who's wanting to work together towards some sort of better future. I don't know. Maybe I'm being crazy here. But there are other houses, and I'll tell you right now, and I'm being serious here, it is more important that we unite, like as a group, than it is for any one person to have their way. So even if Kenneth West made the best offer on paper, and no one else was close to where House Kenneth was, but there was a single person that didn't want to have their sponsorship, it would be better to take a lesser offer and be unified than to take the better offer, right? Because we all need to be able to work together.
I see. We can also discuss this more after we meet with the
And
Queen.
we don't know what anyone else is offering, right? Like we have no idea what's coming down the line. So the real thing we ought to be doing is meeting with the Queen, seeing where she is, going from there.
I see. And my expertise is much more in military matters than traditional political matters. But at least temporarily, one thing that does bring people together is a common enemy. Theoretically speaking, finding the people who behind the attack on the airship could hold this little group of people together for a while. For now, at least.
So I need to let you know what my reservations are. Matter doesn't go away. Stuff, right? She like picks up a knife and she picks up a pen. She's like, stuff.
Okay, go on. Okay, put down the knife.
They don't just go away, right? So matter, molecules, the things that make up what we are. There's space. We can't see it because it's so small, but there's space, right? So when there's an implosion, a true implosion, all of that space gets really, really small, but that stuff, even the stuff in our bodies goes somewhere, Ludwig. It goes somewhere. So if no one's found it, we don't know they're dead. Why are we... I understand the importance of looking for the causes behind it. But I'm not ready to start. I would like to look for my uncle.
You think he's alive?
I think until we know what happened, we don't know. And it is premature to make assumptions until we know. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Very well. Roll to Kenneth. As perhaps the beginning of this potentially long partnership, I pledge I will help you find your uncle. Whether he's with us or no longer, I promise to help you find him.
And she'll actually go to grip you the same way she'd grip the orc.
So like you find a very
much a warrior's.
Instinctually, he goes for it in its very strong grip. How strong is your grip, Ryan?
My grip is not necessarily very strong. What you would notice is that her hands are they're calloused.
Okay.
Like her hands are not soft. It looked like little burns and scars all over them.
So it's like, on a walk of the fort all day. I see. And I'm okay ending the conversation the relevant conversation there, and I imagine he just says, "So tell me more about your workshop and everything to end the scene and whatnot."
Beautiful.
Yeah, she'll show him her rapier that she forged herself, and take out her sidearm and show him her pistol. Like,
Cool.
Like, I'm letting someone who's interested in these things just talk about these things they're interested in.
Beauty. Beauty. Okay. Got it. So, moving along, Holden, I'd love to hear from you, my friend. You have a lot going on. What can we do with you?
Yeah. So when we left Holden last session that we played, he was in the midst of he'd just kind of been accepted / dismissed by the Queen. But there were all these other people in the room that wanted to talk to him. So we don't necessarily have to play out every one of those conversations, or
Right.
we can either way. But should we touch on like some results or highlights of that? Did anything
Yeah.
come of that one way or another?
Being at court?
Yeah, the conversations. There was like a room full of people that we had you'd said were like eager to talk to him at that point. So I'm assuming these conversations were had. I guess I'm wondering, what the results or outcomes of those conversations were, if anything.
Yeah, they're absolutely. So let me ask you how you'd like to operate. So there are people who will, small talk you up a bit. I'll hold over your really, really fantastic roll from last session, and clink flutes and do the small talk well. Well, let's play out at least one conversation, Holden, and we'll see. Maybe that'll kind of inform, where it goes from there.
Sure.
So, you're at court and people are talking, and you presented yourself. And if I'm not mistaken, you said that you were representing the rest of your allies who would be coming within the next couple of days.
Yes, something like that.
You end up talking to this group of individuals who are just like Ondarian, like barons and whatevers. One of them says, and you went by Holden Lackyard, I assume, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Says, well, Mr. Holden, how interesting your appearance at court. Wherever do you hail from?
Oh, well, most recently, prior to coming to Fairhaven, I've been living out in the Lazar Principalities, sailing the seas, as it were.
The Lazar Principalities. Oh, and out of curiosity, your attire, does it have any influences of the Principalities?
Yeah, I think when he dresses as Holden, probably, I remember reading that there's, you can tell the way that people style their hair in those provinces is kind of a windswept. And there was, we had decided with the clothing choices that he made prior to coming into the game that they would be sort of themed as like seafaring or piratey. So there would certainly be Lazare and navigational flair to his look, probably.
Absolutely.
A seaward flair.
Very good. He says, I see. I have most interesting. You come from us quite far away, and you yourself, sir, were aboard the Golden Dragon at the time of the calamity.
I was. I happened to be lucky enough to have made some connections that got me invited, and to be able to be amongst such fine people. Unfortunately, of course, there was the tragic event, which quite inexplicably, I must say, I happen to have survived, along with a group of around a half a dozen other people. we all, as I mentioned before the Queen, we all have something like this to show for it. And he points at his...
Indeed, most exceptional. The creation of a new dragon. My goodness, what does one do when they become a new house? I've never heard of such a thing.
We are really struggling to figure that out ourselves.
I see. I must be quite an interesting... Mike, maybe a persuasion check to see if this individual is feeling inclined to be helpful.
All right. Let's see. Try that again. 17.
17. You'll say 17 is pretty good. You'll say, I'm most interested in where this tale tells. Is there by chance anything I might do to be able to help? I should introduce myself once more. I am Baron Wilbert Ir-Alvar.
Wilbert Ir-Alvar?
Ir-Alvar.
Okay.
And he says, and this is my wife, Baroness Ida Ir-Alvar. And she's like this blonde updo with like the Ondarian like dress. She's got the fan. She goes, well, hello, Mr. Lackyaw, and gives you a little wink.
And he'll kind of blush a little bit and give her a little bit of a wink and smile and bow his head. It's very nice to meet you, milady.
And he goes, but my boy, is there anything that we have some influence here at court? Is there some way I might be of assistance?
Honestly, the best assistance that myself and a group of random people, we were not previously known to each other by any degree that I'm aware of, but the most helpful thing to us at the moment would be, well, two things really. One, that we get through this uncomfortable set of circumstances of uncertainty as quickly as possible so that we're able to move on and move freely. And I'm sure you probably saw our faces in the paper. It makes things socially a little difficult, bogs things down a little bit. So we'll be seen by the Queen, of course, and I'm sure things will go smoothly after that. But if there's anything you can do to grease those wheels, that would be most helpful. And then the second thing, I'm sure, is that all of us have various interests in the cause of what actually happened aboard the ship. We have to try to determine now what to do with ourselves as this sort of ragtag group that was never meant to be. And we have to see if we can track down what may or may not have happened, as is everybody's interest, I'm sure, what may or may not have happened to some of the people on board. One of the people that I'm sure you'll see in court with me in a few days is Miss Rowan de Cannith herself. She, of course, as you know, lost some very important people aboard the airship. So there's mostly those two concerns among the group. How most easily to get through this slightly uncomfortable period of uncertainty, and then in moving forward, whatever resources, information, or aid we can get in tracking down those who may have been lost, and in determining what to do in the new, and he points again at his mark, in the new status that we find ourselves.
You have quite the to-do list, young man. It seems... Well,
I came to town only looking for a glamorous airship ride, but it seems the to-do list has been thrust upon us.
my. And he looks at his wife with a look of like a little bit being overwhelmed, and she kind of smiles, not in like a bad way. They kind of laugh it off. He says, well, I have, I will be watching with great intensity the progress of you and your allies, but for the time being, perhaps the help I might suggest is finding yourselves a guide, someone who can just tell you how best to take the next steps. Quite a few, coincidentally, and quite surprisingly, in the wake of the Golden Dragon Massacre, a number of barons from the different Dragonmort houses have made themselves known here at court. I'd be willing to point some of them out to you if you wish.
Certainly. I think one of the challenges we've faced is that some of us, as a matter of fact, half of us exactly, are not traditionally from Dragonmart houses, and aren't 100% familiar with the politics and the traditions. So we are a little bit overwhelmed with the idea of even determining, who to go for assistance and aid to begin with.
Do you not wish to? I mean, there was that whole history about House Madani not even wanting to be a part of the Dragonmart houses. By chance, are you and your fellows thinking of going a similar route of potential independence?
I couldn't tell you. I think that's still being debated amongst the group. We have a number of different people with a number of different loyalties and interests. And I think that we haven't quite come to a common ground yet on exactly what direction we would like a perceived group or new house to take.
It's a conundrum. You're trying to get everybody to make a decision. Is there a leader in your group, or perhaps at the very least you should establish? I'm merely just sort of pulling ideas. I do take care of my own lands. Perhaps you should have a council meeting of such where people put forth their own ideas and then take it to an anonymous vote. Perhaps I know. There's many ways of making people come to a decision about one thing. I imagine. I don't know about such things. Perhaps there's other experts. Maybe someone here in the Underian Royal Court might be able to help you all form your Dragonmart houses. It would be unusual. I don't think that's ever happened, really. But perhaps there's someone else out there. But maybe you have everyone propose who they would like to have them help teach them about Dragonmart houses. I don't know. There's not really a Dragonmart school, is there? And his wife will go, actually, darling, you're forgetting about the 12. He goes, oh, my dear, you're sort of delightfully intelligent. I guess not technically a school, but there is a place in Karnath where there is some kind of floating, I don't know, laboratory, institution of some kind called the 12, where all the Dragonmart houses all teach each other things or share ideas, I believe, or something of the like. Maybe you just go there and get them to sponsor you.
All very interesting ideas, and I assure you, I did not intend to give the impression that this was something that we were laboring with figuring out immediately.
My apologies.
Simply something that's on the a docket after, again, we clear up this slight perhaps misunderstanding with the court, and we're once again securely in the Queen's good graces.
I see. And the wife will say, you'll have to forgive my husband. He's a bit of, he has a way of wishing to solve everyone's problems for them. You'll have to forgive him. Because, oh, dear, there's no, kind of mumbles in embarrassment.
Oh. There's nothing to forgive. I essentially dropped a pile of problems in your poor husband's lap. I would have been a little disappointed if he hadn't offered at least a little assistance. So I do appreciate it very much. Nothing to apologize for. It's been very nice to meet you, and you've been very informative.
He looks very happy with himself. He's like, and his wife, he's like, I was doing the right thing. And he kind of like, and like conversation floats on, and you seem to hold yourself in good regard. Many conversations will go somewhat similarly, where you'll tell them where you're from and the challenges, you're facing, and people will suggest everything from talking to the gods to finding religion to speaking with an expert of some kind or going to a school or but one thing remains the same is that everyone seems to think that you should try and find yourself some kind of patron. Sure. That seems to be the idea at court. Would you have any interest, because you wanted to also like kind of spy out for the group, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like kind of keep an eye on.
Yeah, if I could just, I guess I'm just sort of looking around, one for anything that, that just stands out. But also anybody else that I may recognize that's here or anybody that notably isn't here.
Understood. You're going to recognize a lot from the Ondarian royal family. They come and go with their various businesses, but the queen, her prince consort, Sasek de Vidalis, he will approach you, actually. He has someone he wants you to meet. The first travel ability, such that there was this. Okay. He will say he will come up to you. I'm gonna post this, and he's going to approach you with another man. Sorry, I'm just getting his hand out ready here. And fantastic. So the prince consort Sasek de Vidalis will approach you with a man at his side, who, though is dressed well in like a long red tailcoat and a fluff in the Ondarian styles, carries himself with a little bit more laissez-faire. The people around you sort of bow to the prince consort. And he will say, yep, you bow. He says, excuse me, Mr. Holden Lackyard.
Yes, Your Majesty.
It's good to have you at court. You have made a good impression on my wife. I'm glad to see that things seem to be going well, and we all eagerly expect your compatriots in the days to come.
Yes, of course. They are eager to get here. As you can imagine, Your Majesty, we were taken a bit off guard, as everyone was, by the events of the evening and by the state that we found ourselves in afterward. And again, he gestures to his mark. And some of us have obligations here in town, have lost family members. There were matters to attend to before we felt ready to present ourselves. But I can assure you that every member of the group is most eager to arrive and to sort things through and clear up anything that we can help with.
Understood. Well, that's quite admirable, and again, we all wait to hear from you. But if you wouldn't mind, I would like to introduce you to. I'm just trying to make sure I got it right. Let's see here. Okay, good. I was hoping if you would give me the opportunity to introduce you to my brother. This is Baron Dalian de Vidalis. He is the patriarch of House Vidalis.
Oh, it's very nice to meet you, sir.
I will show you the handout. You would know very easily. He has sort of his reputation tags. He would be considered to be unambitious but kind and affable. Is sort of his larger reputation in the world. And he'll kind of bow to you with all the elegance you'd expect, but slightly slumped shoulders of sort of like a laissez-faire kind of way. And he'll bow the head to you and nod the head to you a little bit. And he'll say, Mr. Lackyard, I would like to extend my my most greatest admirations for your endurance in these undoubtedly confusing and tragic times.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Sometimes when we're not given a choice about our circumstances, we find that we have a reserve of energy and ingenuity that we might not have otherwise known that we possessed.
I see. Well, that's good to hear, at least. Taking a silver lining out of everything. I would be, I'd probably run to the hills if this kind of thing befell me. So you have my admiration for your endurance.
I'm sure at least for some it was a consideration in the moment, but considering that the rest of society is, or was at the time at least, suffering along with us, it seemed best to stick around and be as cooperative in endeavoring forward as we can.
Yes. And he will kind of like walk with you through the hall with his brother, and he says, now, I'm sure, if I might get to the brass tacks, I'm sure you've been, you haven't even fully been presented at court. I'm sure you've already had a number of offers shoved down your throat from various barons here and there about patronage and founding, I'm sure.
If I'm being perfectly honest, we've spoken with 2 so far, and neither went particularly well.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. I just... My apologies. Listen, I don't have a lot of... He looks around, sees his brother, and he goes, I don't have a ton of patience for court myself. I'm only here because the Council of Viscounts insisted that new dragon-marked house, that the Baron should make an appearance, and so on and so forth. I'd much rather be back in the country breeding. That's what I'm more interested in doing, managing house operations and so on. But I thought I would just, man to man, offer you some advice in any area you might wish as to what you would like to do, about anything you'd like to ask, and then we can call this a positive meeting, huh?
Most certainly, and I find your perspective refreshing. As I'm sure you know, I'm not originally of this particular world, so to find someone else who finds it at least a tiny bit uncomfortable is a little bit comforting, if you understand what I'm saying. So yes, please, love to hear some advice.
I understand completely. I don't want to tell you what you need to know. You have your own list of problems, I can't imagine. My rise to the barony has been very soon different than your assimilation into a new Dragonmark house. Why don't you tell me what you would, how I can help you?
Sure. I think, mostly what we're looking for at the moment is consultation. Those who can help us to navigate the complex world of both governmental and house politics. Some of us are familiar with these things, but really from more of an inside perspective. I think possibly with the exception of Mr. Cross, who's a diplomat himself, but even our other house members are, have for the most part, I would imagine, been restricted to their own houses. So I'm not sure that any of us is particularly comfortable and knowledgeable about navigating, the complex relationships that exist between the houses, and of being able to kind of read through our communications with them to get to what they really mean.
I see. Okay. Well, let me, perhaps what might be helpful is to tell you of, oh my god, sorry, my dog's losing my mind out here. So I'll tell you what, because it is about that time anyway, while he is thinking of how best to answer that question, why don't we go to our break? 15-ish minutes, we'll be back, and we'll continue our little 3-day tramp and see if we can bring it to an end and get ourselves into the court.
Yeah, I'd like to get into the court tonight. That'd be nice.
That's what I'm aiming for. So we'll do that as soon as we can. Okay, take care. We'll be back at 15.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm really hoping to get to the Queen tonight.
If we don't get, that'll be my fault because I will be screwing around trying to.
Blame the Warforged. That's what Eberron always does. Yeah, just blame the Warforged.
My fault because I'll be hunting down Mr. Forden.
You could just send a message to
Mr.
him.
Fonda, rather.
You could just send a sending to him.
I'm not going to send a message to the guy. So, oh yeah, by the way, I was spying on you. So what's this about a murder?
I'm also confused by that. Explain to me again. Wait, who got murdered?
Muted.
You don't know.
Just someone did.
You don't know anything about that.
Okay. So what did everyone get for Christmas?
Not much really. Food.
Yeah, that's always good. Oh, look at him. Oh, look at the little fella. Nice. I actually got this shirt in the mail from my aunt in St. Louis. It says, for farm fresh, uh, Christmas trees. It's a bunch of like trees and everything.
His name is Angus.
Ah, clever. Mm. So how big? So how long you? So how big do you hope to get him before you make him some burgers out? Make some burgers. I'm sorry.
It's not food.
I'm sorry. Every every it's a lesson every farm kid has to know. Gets.
I've lived on farms, but he's a pet.
I know. Um. One thing my brother was my Secret Santa this year, and one thing he gave me that was something he'd never seen before was Nolan's The Prestige.
Mhm.
And I showed it to him last night. I'm happy to have it on Blu-ray now. It's like it might be my favorite Nolan film actually.
Excellent film.
Oh, it's so
Excellent
good.
film.
Oh, good.
Terrible novel. Oh,
That bad.
awful novel. Like so, it's so rare that the film is just far and away better than the novel, but the novel was just ungainly, and the film kept the good stuff and like got rid of the stuff that was just dragging on. And of course, it was really well acted. It was well shot.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
that was pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
it's like it might be. What was that?
Oh, nothing. I'm sorry. I think it was something on my phone.
Okay. Yeah, it it it's like one of those films that walk both ways when on rewatch, you know. And something you said a comment about books that are worse than the film. I can guarantee you, the Jaws book is among them.
I didn't realize it was based on a novel.
You didn't know it was based on a novel? Yeah, let me sum up the book like this. When Spielberg read the book, he said, "I was rooting for the shark to win." He hated the characters that much. That, like they are awful in that book. They are just unlikable.
Okay.
He is back. How's the
I'm
doggy?
back. He is good. He is good. My roommate just got back in, so he was freaking out a little bit. But we're all good.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Okay. Let's clean up and get to court. So, hold it. You ask you kind of lay your issues on the Baron. He kind of walks around, nods and hears them. He's a little bit, again, sort of nonchalant about it. You very easily get the sense that he'd rather be about anywhere else, despite his ability to posture and so forth. He says, "Well, Mr. Lackyard, your concerns are staggering. If I had any piece of advice to you, would simply say to now's the time to be a good businessman. The vultures are about to descend. The offers are about to roll in. Wait for the best deal. And take it. Because if you're looking for trust, you're not going to find it. Everyone here is out for themselves. They're all trying to make gold. The royal houses have their own national interests involved. Don't look for someone to trust. Look for someone who you trust their self-interest in. You know what I mean?"
I know exactly what you mean, and that is, again, very comforting advice. Thank you.
He kind of looks up and down and he says, "I get the sense that you don't actually need much advice, do you, Mr. Lackyard?"
Oh, I don't know. I think sometimes people like to give it, and it's never a burden to have it.
He kind of like tilts his head at you and kind of he kind of like pats you twice on the shoulder, and kind of walks away with like a little look of like, huh. Like that was deeply amusing to him. He thought that was funny. You'll absolutely earn a point with the Baron Delin de Vidalis. Jesus, what a fucking name! I hate my mother. She gave me a very difficult name to say. All right. And with that, you'll hear that various barons are coming in. The most notable ones that you will sort of get your eyes upon, Holden, is, without any surprise, Baron Jolana de Canis is at court and raises her glass to you, and you meet her eye here and there. You will see, again, Baron Dalin de Vidalis has made his intentions known, or as to why he's here, to essentially make himself known and not much more. The Baroness Esravash de Loirandar actually does show up, to the surprise of the court, but walks in with with dignity, with her head held high, but does present herself to the Queen, and issues her most deepest apologies, and intends to make good, and intends to help the Ondarian court in any way possible to bring these people to justice. You maybe once or twice, maybe from across the room, you get a look from the Baron, Delin, who sort of like gives you like an eye points at her and like a shrug, as if to say like, she's not here for Ondare. Right. And last but not least, of just your scene walking in, you see marching in, to the impressiveness of the people within, is Baron Brevin de Dennis, the Honorable Baron of House Dennis, who comes in and again presents himself to the Queen, and insists he intends to get to the bottom of this most horrific act, and intends to bring justice to the members of his house who were lost, as well as Ondare itself. And these are the 4 initial barons who make themselves known at court that you spot, Holden.
Okay.
Cool. And that is what you get done for your 3 days, Holden. I think there's just one last little piece of business I want to get done before... Oh, did you have something, Holden?
Yeah, I would just like to, at some point during that 3 days and after I was at court, communicate to the group who I saw there, essentially, that I feel like this meeting that we're about to have is going to be less about the questioning that we maybe originally thought it was going to be. I'm sure that will come into play. I'm sure people have questions about what happened in our experiences, but it seems less of an interrogation and more of a genuine interest in seeing us and speaking to us as newly dragon marked individuals. And then I would also say, I would also relay that we've been given, or that I've been given, a few different pieces of advice for how to proceed forward, including the alternatives of perhaps, finding sponsorship through our local government or royal family or the 12, etc. Just kind of putting those options on the table as well, because we hadn't really discussed that before. And finally, that I would, in nearly the same phrasing, kind of pass along the suggestion that um, Baron de Vidalis gave me about it being less about trusting any one particular house or organization to look out for or have our best interest in mind, and more about um, having faith that they will always have their own best interests in mind, and deciding which of those work best for us. And that's it. Good.
Well, it's well, I suppose. Any thoughts, Rowan?
I think it's sound advice.
I do not disagree with anything they say.
My impression is that we will be aggressively approached by a number of the different houses regarding the potential for future sponsorship, the offering of relationships, those types of things. So we ought to be prepared for that. And if we're deciding not to answer, maybe we should keep that in mind. I was given the advice that we should hear everyone out rather than jumping at whatever we believe our first option is.
I say we take our time with this and let the proposals roll in. Better let a good deal walk out the door that we're not sure about than take one that if we aren't sure about it. Yes.
Potential is great, but timing matters, right?
Yes.
So it could be the best thing in the world, but if it's not the best thing in the world for us right now, and something is a lesser deal but better right now, maybe right now we're in a place when we have to think about right now. And in the future, maybe we'll be able to make more steps going ahead, you know?
I suppose. Cross, any thoughts?
Most of them reserving judgment until I hear what these other houses have to say.
Seems
Right.
reasonable.
Yeah. Don't think it's no secret that I don't like the position that we're in. I don't like having this mark. So I guess I'm hoping that maybe something will come along to change my mind.
change your mind about liking the mark?
It's an inconvenience, to say the least. And were it entirely up to me, I would paint over it with something and pretend it doesn't exist. And frankly, I'd consider that possibly an option. I'm hoping someone will change my mind about pretending I don't have it.
All right, so we're going to see the queen.
Let's prepare for tomorrow.
As a quick before, yeah, you're going to go tomorrow. Cross, you've been busy. I want to touch on you really quick before we head to court.
Yep.
You wanted Pasil tracked down. You've got him. Would you like to speak with him?
Yes, I would.
Understood. Okay. Let me go through all my handouts and find Pasil. Yeah, you simply meander out gate to, as it seems that you've been told that he simply kind of appears at the gate at the end of each of these like meals that your party has, and you just kind of find your way out quicker than Holden and find the rogue standing there waiting for you. He kind of turns around and goes, Holden, what it, oh yeah, I remember you. Hey, how's it going?
Not who you were expecting, I take it.
No, not really. You know, Holden owes me a little bit of little money, so I'm just making myself known, right?
Funny, you should mention Holden. How do I put this? Since I've now been, dare I say, forced together with Holden and the rest of our little band, I consider it a matter of some import to know exactly who I'm gonna be associated with. The nobles carry the weight of their history, so they're at least somewhat easier to get a handle on just by virtue of the name or nation they carry. But Holden carries neither. So,
Right.
the best way to learn about someone like that is through their friends. So, Mr. Fonda, you know Holden better than I. What do you make of him?
You see, I don't make habit talking to my employers. I mean, he's not really my employer. We're partners, or at least that's what he says. But I'm out here on the street, and he's up in the big fancy mansion. So, I think he's a wily one. I mean, he was working for me, and now here I am, out here.
What could be you? So the tables have turned, have they?
I mean, still, I shouldn't be. I got a feeling I shouldn't be talking to you about this for some reason. I'm trying to find a reason. I'm trying to figure out what that reason is.
Is it paying you to keep your silence?
I mean, not specifically.
This is just a friendly inquiry. For all I know, I'm going to be stuck with him for a long time. I don't want that to be dare I say, a mistake. So has it been worth the money?
Well, maybe a persuasion check. See if he likes you.
Oh, can I roll above a 10?
Oh boy.
That's a firm no. That's an 8.
It's an 8. He goes, all right, I'll tell you about Holden. He's he's a bit of a, he's really good at making deals. He's really good at talking. But most importantly, I think he remembers where he comes from. You know? I mean, me and him known each other for years. And, we've had each other's back plenty of times. He throws jobs my way, I've thrown jobs his way. And, we've helped each other out. And you know what? I trust, I think trust is a very strong word. I think Holden does intend to help me out when he's made it big. Apparently he hasn't already made it big, but he's going. You'll see. So he's a good guy. He gets the job done, which is important.
Good guy gets the job done. And if things ever went bad, and Cross does sort of almost bend over and kind of look very carefully at him. If things ever did go bad, per se, would he sell you out or cover for you?
Well, that's a good question. Shit.
Cross will kind of back up there and go I feel the hesitation has already answered the question.
You think he? No, he wouldn't do that. He looks up at the house, back at you. He goes, you really think he would?
You know him better than I. I'm just trying to get a handle on it.
I don't actually know much about Holden now that I think of it.
Known him for years, but you don't know him at all.
Yeah. But I mean that's how it works. I mean, in our line of business, we keep your head down, and that's just how it goes. You keep your head down. I guess he's just really good at this, I suppose. Or he doesn't trust me. Or I gotta go. Listen. What do you want? What do you want? Are you just trying to find out more about? I'm going through 5 different bloody fucking accents in this conversation. You twisted my brain. What do you want exactly?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I got what I wanted already. So,
what did you get? I didn't say anything. If you talk to him, don't tell. I didn't say anything.
Cross will just walk away, just a little chuckle.
He does one of those and runs away. He's gonna go drink in a bar and consider his life choices. Okay, and with that, very interesting, Cross. Very interesting, actually. I want you to make me deception or persuasion check of your choice as you leave that conversation.
I'll be persuasion, I guess. Let's see. The dice are just not with me today. It's an 8. Again.
An 8. Okay. Got it. Fair enough. Okay. With that, the next day comes. It's time for the whole party to follow Holden's lead and take to the court of Onder. You guys have had a couple of opportunities at diplomacy. They haven't gone well, and some haven't gone well, some have gone actually quite well. But you are very much entering into the lion's den. Was there ever a more sensitive political space than a royal court? Who knows? But here you are. marked with this mark of charming or diplomacy. And we're going to see what happens. But most important thing to figure out is as you go to court today on this fourth and wonderful day, what is everyone wearing?
I would imagine. Who wants to go first? Do you want to go first or should I go first?
I'll post it in the chat. I've got pictures.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful.
Of course. I would imagine. Man, I think he would ask. I suppose he would ask perhaps Holden or someone who's been to courts about how this would be received. I suppose a military uniform would be a bad pick for today.
Oh, I don't necessarily think so. It seems very official, and if that's representative of your station, I think it's probably quite fitting. I don't think it's, too casual at all. For sure, it's official, and I think it's fitting. Probably.
I'm perhaps I'm being paranoid, but I think they might think I'm picking a side by wearing this.
No, potentially. I wouldn't know about that part.
Ludwig will just take a coin out and he'll just roll to see what happens.
Fair enough.
Okay, heads. I'll wear the uniform.
I do think I made it clear, if it sets your mind at ease at all, Ludwig, that we don't currently have a direction or a side. I believe I made that clear to everyone, at least that I spoke to. So I don't think anyone's too concerned with us being overly aligned with anyone yet.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So yeah, Ryan, he will wear his traditional ceremonial military garb from Karnath. Mainly for ceremonial purposes and things like that.
Yeah.
It tends to be very Karnathy, not that flashy. It's like there's some medals here and there, but nothing.
Yeah.
Except nothing ostentatious.
Sure. Makes perfect sense. Probably the same thing you wore to the Golden Dragon. You really only came with one formal outfit.
Yeah, I'll wear the same thing as I wore there because to make sure the Queen recognizes me.
Fair enough. And I would say, Ludwig, you in the military academy would have been a very small portion of your training, but would have been taught about proper dress for ceremonial purposes and this is correct by Karnathi standards to wear your formal uniform, even if it's two multiple events to wear the same thing because you are. Why would you have multiple versions of your uniform? You should wear your uniform with pride. So yeah, this is very, very right as far as you know.
All right.
Rowan posted pictures. I want to go look at some pictures.
It's fire. Ooh.
So it's the top of the one with the skirt of the other, and the hat that she's wearing has a very sheer netting that covers her eyes because she is in mourning. So
got it. So upper half of the first, lower half of the second?
Correct.
Very cool. Is this a shift weave?
Yes, it is.
What else do you got in there?
She also has the white pantsuit that I will send you.
Fair enough.
And then she has something that's nondescript. That's just very easy to walk around town, kind of androgynous. And specifically, a male suit. Something that's her suits have been decidedly female.
Mm.
One suit that doesn't quite fit her right without her using her illusion magic.
Got it.
It's specifically designed to be a boy if she needs to, but there's only 4.
Okay, very good. Understood. Understood. Okay. What about Holden? What about Cross?
What do we consider like, I guess, okay for like formal occasions to go in, I guess, more clerical dress? Just because I think
Okay.
because technically Cross is now not on the job, he's not officially representing Siri in this instance, so wearing what he wore for the gala would be semi-inappropriate. I feel like he was wearing more kind of cleric, priestly cleric robe would be more fitting.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, yeah, a little sovereign hosty flair. Very nice. Very cool. Nice. And Mr. Lackyard.
Yeah, I don't think Holden would have anything glaringly. He would, on first glance, be dressed very similarly to the way that he was the other day. He doesn't have a large number of, or a large amount of fine clothing with him, and probably it would just be the matter of maybe a change of similar pants or a change of shirt underneath, but the overcoat and all that would remain the same.
Understood.
In general.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Fantastic. We're going to say, as true to Elizabeth, she is busy with some science project that is far more important than going to the royal court. And we'll assume that she's maybe going to show up late next session, perhaps, or we'll see. But in the meantime, you guys are going to head out. You get your house carriage, probably Rowan, to take you all to the royal court. Indeed, you pull up to the big, opulent house. Holden, at this point, the guard recognizes you. You've come and gone a couple times this week. And the rest of you are checked to make sure your names are on the list similarly, but it's a very quick process next to Holden's. And you're allowed into the grand, big, beautiful court where a magnificently large hall opens to hundreds of people, of barons, baronesses of Aundair, maybe ambassadors of faraway lands. No small amount of... it seems like most dragon-marked houses are represented here. Most. But most importantly in this moment is the Queen. The steward, the herald will present his scroll as you all enter into the hall, and he's going to speak aloud into the hall and say, oh, she's not here. He's going to say, now presenting Mr. Holden Lackyard of the Lizard Principalities. And as that has become apparent, you're like, I don't know who told him that, but apparently word gets around and shit's added to your docket. But they'll say, Lord Holden Lackyard of the Lizard Principalities and bearer of the new mark. Accompanying is Lady Rowan de Caneth of House de Caneth and bearer of the new mark. Also, Lord Ludwig Eldrager of the Carnathi military and bearer of the new mark, and Ambassador Cross of New Siri, bearer of the new mark. And there's a light applause. Holden, at this point, I'm not gonna make you roll because you did very good and you get the Ondarian at this point. You're practiced in it. I would love some performance checks from my other three to see how well you take to the stage, shall we say.
Oh, finally.
Okay.
Dirty 20.
Thank God.
17.
Very nice. Lady DeCaneth.
That was a nat 20.
Hey! Very nice. For a total of?
25.
25. All four of you find yourselves not like soldiers by any measure to an immediate posture, but very sort of flowingly elegant, sort of take on the character of the elegant person in society here in your own various ways, not altogether following Holden. Holden's carrying himself very well. Rowan, you're probably carrying yourself very similar in the feminine fashion that Holden might be. Cross, I imagine you're probably holding yourself, and anyone correct me if I'm wrong, of course. Cross, you're probably holding yourself similarly well, maybe a slight difference. Maybe something a little Siren or something with a slight posture that's maybe a little bit more towards your pious nature. Maybe like a hand in front rather than the back.
I think it would almost actually be an echo of his previous kind of like his old life, where almost muscle memory, and that he actually moves very much militaristically in those settings, as if he's
Fair enough.
back in formation as a soldier.
Yeah, you're on the front lines. I think a couple sessions ago, it was spoken about how this is the war, this is the battle, about this is the fight technically. And I could be wrong. There might be another game, but anyway, you enter into a sort of elegant, if militant posture that sort of portrays your past, and by being a warforged, your past is already apparent. And Ludwiger Dreiger, you take the posture of a proud Carnathi military, back straight, hand on probably the blade you have at your hip, and carrying yourself, sort of swaying the arm gently, moving with stern but elegant military posture. And the four of you all enter in. Holden has already been presented at court, so it would make sense that he would lead the initial way and introduce all of you to the Queen once more. You approach, you all bow most elegantly, and the Queen of Ondare smiles politely and says, "Welcome back, Lord Lackyard. You have been something of a fascination at court lately, haven't you?"
Well, if by only being a bit different, Your Majesty, I present to you the other similarly marked members of the group, at least the ones that are present. As you've heard, Rowan de Canis, Ludwig, Ildjager, and Cross.
She says, she'll first address you, Cross, and she says, "It is well to see you again, Ambassador."
It brings me much relief to see that you are alive and well, Your Highness, Your Majesty. Sorry.
Either works.
Yeah.
And she'll sort of smile delicately, and turn her attention to Ludwig and Rowan and say, "I believe I owe all four of you some measure of welcome, and of course, thank yous for your patience these last weeks while we've been settling out the delicate matter of my assassination attempt, or at least, well, the terrorist attack that unfolded earlier this week. You all made it out quite well. Mr. Lackyard holds you all in great esteem and speaks well of your exits."
We're honored to be in your presence, Your Highness.
She regards you, and she will say, "Indeed, Lord Ludwiger Dreiger, yes, my governor speaks well of you, in fact." And you will turn to see, standing in the crowd, is Governor Oradur Weinon, who you spoke to on the Golden Dragon. And he kind of raises a little glass to you as he stands near towards the Queen's side. It seems that you have already built yourself a decent rapport initially. As a note, I am going to give you a relationship point with him, Ludwig, because you presented yourself very well to him and his wife on the Golden Dragon.
Thank you. Is he the governor of Ondare or governor of Fairhaven?
His title should be in his description. He is the governor of affairs in Fairhaven and the chief advisor to the Queen.
Okay.
He's also the leader of the diplomatic corps.
Okay, got it. 1 point.
He's got a lot of stuff.
He's got 1 point.
I'm keeping track of them too on their sheets, by the way. So don't. We're gonna go through a lot of people and a lot of points. So as far as the relationship points go, I'm keeping track of those as well. which is a point. Let me mark down some points for the queen, because some of us have already spoken to the queen. Holden, you have spoken to her twice so far, now and before, so you'll have 2 points with her. Cross, you have spoken to her now and before, so 2 points. And the rest of you will have 1 point with the queen. And she says, you come now in most strange times. I, of course, find myself consumed with the needs of my people after such a dastardly attack on myself and many other citizens of Aldair, dragon-marked or not. And I must attend to them. And I would, of course, welcome any support in this endeavor that you may have. Feel free to speak to anybody within my family or, of course, my staff if you wish to have any relevant information to pass on or services you'd like to impart upon Aldair. But know that we all stand together in seeing this dastardly attack and this villain, Kara Irvara, brought to justice. I hope I said her name right. Oh my god. Yes, I did. Oh, Kara Irvath. This dastardly villain, Kara Irvath, brought to justice imminently. But please, find yourself welcome in my court. Go round, peruse. From what I have heard, you have your own issues to deal with these most fascinating new marks that you possess. I am curious. Please tell me, what do your marks do? The court listens eagerly. The room silences, as it already had, of course, but you feel the tension.
I look at the others, and if no one else steps forward, I suppose I will.
But
I'll answer that if you don't mind.
Okay.
Your Majesty, to be honest, they're very new to us. We've really not, that I know of, to my knowledge at least, not had the chance to use them in any sort of a practical manner. However, it does seem that they allow us to have a bit of an influence and to make positive impressions upon other people, should we so choose.
Interesting, I see. Perhaps a demonstration.
Oh, certainly.
Says, and she'll point to one of her royal guards, and she'll sort of move her hand, and that sort of soldier will approach you, and she says, please perform your magics on my guard, so long as, of course, they're not harmful.
And I will use... Let's see, do we want to do command, or do we want to do... We probably don't want to give that one up. So let's do charm. Charm person is going to be hard to demonstrate. Okay, let's do command. No, let's do charm person. I'll take it back. All right, so what's the roll?
She rolls. So if you're doing command, what is your command?
No, it'll be charm person. And then...
charm person.
Yeah, and then if that's successful, I'll just ask him to... I'll say, don't you think that it's appropriate that we bounce the queen?
All right. So, what is your DC?
I think it's only like 10 or something like that, right?
Yep, 10. Hot 10 right now. Yep, that will improve.
Because there's nothing that we don't add anything to that, right? Like I don't add my charisma modifier, we don't add our proficiency bonus, nothing like that, right?
Not unless you actually I guess I need to adjust it a little bit, but if you have a spell casting DC, you may use that instead.
Oh yeah, well I suppose that I don't, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I need to go take a second. I need to go double check the things because they're about to. They're probably getting. Never mind. Don't worry about that. But check marks.
If we can do the
For DC.
spell save DC,
Because they will work just as they work like any other mark, and I believe those marks, if you have pact magic or spell casting, they function on that DC. So that will be the same here. But anyway, the save fails, and you guys will see the mark on Holden's face kind of sort of move a little on his face and flash with magic and kind of retract back to its original state. And Holden, you'll feel this not uncomfortable, but pins and needly feeling that kind of like goes through. It's like pins and needles without discomfort, kind of like waves through your body, just like a quick, like a little flash through your body underneath the skin, and you feel your influence hold on to him. And you feel that glow from your cheek. You sort of see a little flash underneath the armored cap. And you know that you have command of him. And as you say, should we bow? Make a persuasion check. You have advantage because he's charmed.
That's going to be a 24 at advantage.
24 at advantage. He moves over to the queen and bows most low before the queen, who is make me a performance check, Holden, to see if this satisfies the queen.
Sure. 20, dirty 20.
Dirty 20. She applauds you, and thus the whole court applauds you. Widely. This has gone quite well for you. There is, and that's that. She says, most excellent. I am sure many are excited to speak with all of you about your skills. Again, welcome to the Ondarian court. And if there's anything that you know about this attack, or any way that you can aid in its stopping, the court of Fairhaven will be most excited to receive you in this regard. In the meantime, again, please be free to meet those who have attended my court, as there are many who share your sentiments of vengeance and justice.
I bow.
Bows around. I'll expect bows around.
Yeah.
And you may all sort of be freed from her company in the court. The music returns, and she, with a wave of her hand, people begin to speak again. It is like she is God here. The wave of a hand, do things begin and stop. But it seems that you have pleased the court, and there are many people, many people in the crowd. I'm not going to berate you with names in this moment, but there are some that will be initially easily recognizable. Holden, I will give you each one. Let's make our lives a little simpler here. Maybe two, depending on how lucky you are. But Holden, you will see the Baron Dalin de Vidalis give you a little salute from across the way, as he's definitely wallflowering. He's standing against some pole, looking almost like a spoiled rich kid. Not a spoiled rich kid, but just like he's waiting basically for this all to be over, and he sees you and kind of takes a glass off of a passing waiter and raises it to you and shoots back the thing and puts it on a nearby table and continues he's doing the motions, but he's not happy about it. So he's who you see initially. I don't have his handout, but you'll see Baron Wybert Ir Avar and his wife, the Baroness Ida Ir Avar. They'll be around, and they'll get a handout eventually. But they're around. You kind of spot them through.
Sure.
Ludwig, you will recognize no one that you initially. Well, let me ask you: is there anyone that you're looking for in particular in this moment?
I would go, if I had permission, I would try to make my way to the governor.
The governor. Yes, of course. You see the governor. You recognize the governor, and you can indeed make your way over to him. So we'll leave it at that. You see the governor and his wife are out and about. I will repost their handouts because they're just so great. Those two, power couple. And he's
very handsome couple.
Too. Yep, very handsome couple, very arranged. And cross. Let me give you. You see the queen. No, I'm kidding. Let's see. Who do we think would be? Is there anyone you're trying to find? Anything that the cross is initially trying to keep an eye out for?
I think Cross would rather see who approaches first. The one who, I guess, the one who want to step forward first is the one who's most intrigued by you, and the one who takes initiative, I suppose.
The one who steps forth, the one who takes initiative. Okay, we'll come back to you, and we're going to see who indeed does approach you, my friend. But lastly, Rowan, we're going to hit you up because you're going to be approached most quickly. You find yourself seeing two faces, and it's in a little bit of a flurry. Because first things first, you see, of course, the matriarch of House Cannith, Baron Jorlana de Cannith. And I'll have to apologize, I ran out of time to get it ready. But you will see he's talking to someone else. I want you to make me a little history check super quick. See if you look at this guy and you're trying to recognize him. He's got a Cannith mark on his face, and he's dressed quite well.
14.
14. That's good enough. You see that he is speaking to the heavyset, none other than Zorlon de Cannith of Cannith East seems to be present. And as you kind of take that note, you find your arm is linked and you're sort of being walked. All of a sudden, you find this dainty arm laced through yours, and you kind of, what? In a bit of a flurry, and you look to your right to see your old friend, Inara de Fiora, sort of has taken your arm. She has bright blue eyes. She's dressed very beautifully, bust a little more exposed, in a delightful black dress. She's exquisite to set your eyes upon. Jeweled, hair done well. She's the soul of elegance and carries herself with a certain suave. And she says, Ruben, it is good to see you. How has Fairhaven been treating you?
It's been a ride. New stuff.
I heard you were on the ride.
I've been meaning to talk to you anyway. I'm glad to see you. Have you been?
And I am glad. Oh, busy. Busier as of late with all of this information coming out about terrorist attacks and such. I hope you will relate to you and your friends that the Baron Fjarlin would have been here if it were not for myself. I thought it would be more appropriate if a friend came to pick at all of you for your attention.
You have my complete attention.
Well, we can get to all of the buying and selling. I'm sure you have already received a number of offers. But let's talk about you. How have you been? What is next for you and your friends?
The goal right now is to find out who did this. Or at least who was behind it, right? Like the person who did it was clearly not there. The girl was a mouthpiece. That's easy chess.
Is that the goal? You are hunting perpetrators to the law? That is where you're setting your sights?
To begin with. We don't know what happened to the ship yet.
Not crashed?
If it was crushed, it would have been somewhere. And even if it was, that was a significant piece of magic.
Not stolen, then? You seem to have some idea about where it be.
It's a fairy story. Maybe it's nothing. I have to look. Or it could be wishful thinking. I could just be wanting my uncle to be alive.
And yet there is no wreckage. Any theory is better than no theory.
Rift to another plane?
Huh.
Another place?
A rift to another plane. You are creative. Just as you are good at getting yourself into creative situations, you are good at thinking of creative situations. A rift to another plane. How interesting. Well, why do you think of this?
An explosion goes one way, an implosion it goes another way. But with an implosion, there is still going to be something, right? There was nothing.
Implosion, you say?
Yes, if in the moment that it happened, we'd already been teleported to a hillside. The airship did this. In an explosion, the force goes outwards, right? And that can be done very, very easily. But an implosion, for something to collapse on itself, unless something's coming from the outside and collapsing it, that means it has to be collapsed from the inside. There's still going to be something, unless the energy somehow moved it. We know things were moving around. The Queen was teleported. The 6 were teleported. And it could be nothing. Maybe it's a mystery for forever, but it seems like something we should look at. Big ships getting disappeared seems like a bad idea.
Oh. Well, you would know more about such things. I had not heard of this implosion thing. And as a side note, folks, all of you are going to have your own things you want to do, but if this influences it, you obviously all do see Rowan having a conversation with this elf, who, by the way, would indeed have a dragon mark. She is wearing a backless dress, and you would see it sort of beautifully presented, like right between her shoulder blades. So in case, nobody's cut off. But anyway, we'll come back to that conversation regardless, as you two kind of shoot the shit and you talk about the situation itself. Currently, good. Let us hit Ludwig, because you had a very clear where you wanted to go, and then we'll hit you, Cross, because you had you're waiting to be approached, and that will not take very long.
Yeah.
And then we'll hit up with you, Holden. So Ludwig, you go after the governor, Orat Irwainar. As a reminder, his handouts are up, so any information you might need is there. He says, Lord Drager, it's good to see you again.
Governor, my lady, here right now. I have a bow.
She says, my lord.
Happy,
she'll curtsy.
happy to see both of you. Didn't meet some unfortunate end that night.
And we're happy to see that you didn't as well. I had hoped for the worst, or I had hoped for the best, but well, expecting the worst is how these things go. But I'm glad to see that it seems the sovereign host has favored you.
Feels like that many would say, certainly. What I would ask, if I do would have your permission, I am curious if we could share what how we both experienced that night.
I think that would be a most prudent thing to do, wouldn't you say, my dear? And Rena would say, of course, husband. The governor would say, and he will begin to tell you, he says, well, I think we both experienced the same, how it's best to put it, the same flatulence of ego from the would-be adventurer Coronel Vath, presenting her how terrible we high folk are, and so on and so forth. And then there was a rumbling down below, and then another rumbling down below. And what I am told is the arcane defenses of the ship, certain contingencies aboard, teleported myself, my wife, and the rest of my family to safety here in the court of Fairhaven. It is from here that my sister was beside herself with anger when she came to discover what exactly had just happened. The city, as I'm sure you are no doubt aware, was put in full lockdown. And we began to sort of try and figure out the situation, but it seems that's largely what happened. I'm sure you can understand the rest of the night was a flurry of details.
I see. Where did you all teleport to?
To here, to the castle.
I see. Curious. None of you were injured. None of you, well, and he looks at it, points at his mark. Like, none of you had anything strange happen to you. Any of you?
No. This is the first that we are hearing of this new mark since your appearance here.
Interesting. Do we know if there are any others? That's any other survivors?
Well, that's why we're here, seeing who funnels in. It seems that the Baroness of Lyrandar survived. She's here. And, of course, the Royal Court and yourselves were surprisingly teleported here. Might I ask, out of my own curiosity, what color of pen did you sign the guest book with aboarding the Golden Dragon?
If I remember correctly, it was gold. Was that correct, Ryan?
Yeah, it was gold.
Yeah, it was gold. Oh, which one did you sign with?
Well, we signed with, we didn't sign the book. The royal family, anyway, did not sign the book with the same pens that you all used. Ours were specifically enchanted to ensure that the security enchantments would be put in place with the signing of our name. So we did not use the gold pen, but it seems to me that you understand what I am speaking of.
That the gold pen determined who would be teleported off and who didn't.
I see you have quite a tactical mind, Lord Drager.
Well, that I was in good company immediately afterwards. How does that even work? How does a pen determine who would get teleported off and who wouldn't?
Much as being, and at this point he starts walking you around the hall, and he says there's much about the investigation that still requires some understanding. The Queen is putting together quite the funds to hire members of the Dragonmarked House Inquisitors to track these things down. But what we have come to understand is that the golden pen had the same enchantment as the pen that we of the royal family used to mark ourselves for the security contingencies. So when you signed the book, you marked yourselves to be protected by the enchantments aboard the ship. There was only so much arcane power that it couldn't save everyone aboard, which is unfortunate. I must admit, I'm surprised that you were saved at all, even with the signing of the pen. There would have to be enough contingencies stored to ensure your safety.
Like he's just quiet from turning that over and Ludwig turning over that head, considering possibilities.
He will lean close to you and he'll say, "And Mr. Drager, we all know which dragon-marked houses are most venerated for magical defenses, do we not?"
Oh, yeah. Well, yes. Are you... I do not mean to bring ill repute among anyone here, but... And he says this quietly. Is it possible the people who did this attack had help from the inside?
That is what we are trying to find out.
And I began telling him my perspective on that night, what happened to me, and how I had the unfortunate pleasure of waking up in the morning, finding my name on the front page, and people thinking I'm a wanted criminal.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, by the way, wait, is Lady Madani here?
Oh, make me a perception check to see if you can see her.
Oh, let me see. Natural 20. 25.
Natural 20. You look keenly around and you see many faces. Your lawyer, I will say, Oh, that was a good point. That was a good catch, Ludwig.
Yeah, I thought like, oh wait, we didn't bring her here. Shit.
We'll say on the nat 20 in this moment, you catch the herald sort of calling out, Lady Marina de Madani, lawyer for the advocates of the chalice. And you will see Lady Madani arrive in a gorgeous navy blue dress that is flecked with brass stars, with a sort of it's got the like large Ondarian style of flowery dress. Her hair's done up in a beautiful messy bun, high bun, and like sort of like a deep V in the front with
like,
backless.
and the little dragon mark eye on her forehead.
And the little dragon mark eye on her forehead. Yes, indeed.
If I see her enter, I would say, I would have the assistance of that good woman over there. Actually, would you mind if I brought her over?
By all means.
It means excellent, and I would, after she's introduced, I'd try to bring her over.
Understood. You sort of like catch her eye and wave and invite her over, and she immediately smiles and is happy to be not alone in the fanfare. But as she approaches, we will transfer over to someone else.
Okay.
But yes, she approaches that conversation. Cross. Cross the spooky Warforged. Who is approaching you? I know who's approaching you. You're going to have... I'm building his handout right now. But he's coming over to see you. You see this dwarf approach you, actually. To your maybe surprise. He wears a sort of cap that is gold jeweled with rubies and emeralds. He has a... what even color do I call this? Like a sort of like deep wine purpled cloak strung across him. He has a navy blue shirt that is encrusted with small designs of diamonds, not too garish, but still a little garish. And also a sort of like nickel, possibly gold chainmail mesh over his shoulders that's embroiled with like yarn of ruby and emerald. That was like made from like yarn gemstones. This dwarf approaches you very impressively dressed. He looks at you and he's going to say, mind if I introduce myself to you?
Well, by all means.
I am Lord Morakin de Kondak, head of House Kondak of the Marar Holds. It's good to meet you. You're a diplomat from New Syria, are you not?
That I am, and I offer him my hand, my gnarled, metallic, burned hand.
And he'll look at it most interestingly, but he doesn't. He looks at it with like almost like, I don't want to say familiar interest, but most people when you do that, they're like, oh my God, like what happened to this guy? You know what I mean? But he kind of looks at it like sort of unfazed by it, and kind of like takes your hand and kind of looks at you with interest. He says, well, I've seen plenty of Warforged who have been through hell and back in the last war, but I have to say, you take the cake.
There's just like a little bit of sort of waft of mist comes out. Well, I can't deny that I've seen many of my kin over the last couple of years, and yeah, all I can say is yes, no one has had it quite as bad as me.
And he'll pat you on the back, and he'll say, he'll gesture, and he says, I hear you don't drink, you Warforged types.
Well, nothing much to process it with, so I tend to just graciously sit in attendance while everyone else partakes.
Shame. Hard to cheer somebody. So, I get the sense that you're someone who is maybe a little bit more blunt. We don't need all the too many fancy words. What do you think?
Well, I'm a diplomat, so fancy words and and kind phrasings are in my job description. But if the offer was presented to speak more frankly, I will gladly take it.
Oh, you had me sweating there for a moment. Your garb suggests that you are more of a holy man than a diplomat.
Well, after the treaty was signed, I suppose faith is something quite new to Warforged, but there's a certain stability in religious tenets, rules to follow, a code to live by.
I see. Makes sense, of course. Let me ask you something. Ambassador Cross, what is it that you are hoping to get here in this Ondarian court? You're here for the justice of the Golden Dragon?
Cross is kind of silent for a bit. There's like the red light shimmer, almost kind of like flickering. I have concerns that such a bold and noticeable attack on the Queen was made, and equally I can't help but feel threatened myself. The circumstances surrounding my survival, dare I say, leave me uneasy. I feel like I'm dancing in the palm of someone else's hand, and I would like to know whose hand that is.
Funny. I'm House Kuntrok, and we're very tightly wound to the Maror holds and their politics and so on and so forth. But I'd ask you, do you know much of the Maror holds struggles? These days, anyway. Make me a history check, see what you know.
Not my strongest stat. That is a 15.
15. You know that the dwarves of the Maror holds have a great many politics, but what is most important is that they're actually currently engaged in a war. They're engaged in a war under the surface in the dragon below. They were attempting to recover the ancient ruins of the Dwarven Empire of ages past in all of its glory, and instead found the Dalekir, the ancient aberrations that threatened all humanoid kind in times long past. So they're currently trying to recover the ruins of their empire while holding at bay the Dalekir, which are said, Dalekir specifically are aberrations of demon lord level power.
I'm certainly aware of your pursuit for what remains of your old empire, and that fighting is still ongoing.
That's right. Well, you and your pals have all come here. It's apparent that you're working together with your whole new mark going on. Am I fair and right in my judgment so far?
I would say it's more of a, how do I put this, forced together by circumstance where we're better off sticking together than going it alone.
Such is the way of the dwarves, at least right now. I can't tell you the amount of headaches I've received hearing about all the dwarven clans feuding against each other nonsensically. It's what kept us from the Dwarven Kingdom so long ago, but I'm not going to bore you with dwarven history. All I'm going to say is that I get what it's like to be thrown in with a bunch of people that you don't necessarily like, being forced to work together. It's a pain in the ass. And the dwarves have pains in the ass of their own. Now, that's none of my business. My business is the business of warding. I am meant to create magical protections, or at least facilitate magical protections, and business has been good. Dwarves need a little help. And the way I see it, you all need a little help. Why don't we help each other out? You seem to have the power of diplomacy on your hands, and some of you seem quite capable, even without that power of diplomacy. Maybe come to the Maror Holds, learn something about people not getting along and how to make them get along, and all the while maybe help us solve our little dragon below problem. Listen, I'm making you an offer. I can do better than that. But this is just me opening up to you, friend. I'm not telling you to make a decision right here and now. I'm sure you've got plenty of prospects. All I mean to say is take it from a dwarf who has lived for far too many hundreds of years. You want to get results? Go to where there's the hottest fire. That is where you'll forge the nicest weapons.
Wise words, and I will be candid here. I have a penchant for tests of character, so I was waiting to see who would dare approach first. I know I'm not the most approachable figure in the room, so I take your initiative as I respect it highly, so I will certainly pass on your proposal to my companions.
Well, I'll be honest with you, lad. I'm usually not the first person to step out of a crowd. I like to take my time and measure people I see, but, well, I guess it paid off today. Be a little more forward. Well, I appreciate your consideration. I don't know if you know much about House Condark, but we're doing quite well for ourselves. I can't help but see a couple of individuals who are struggling. Maybe we can help each other.
Well, thank you for being so bold, and as I say, I'll speak with my companions and see what they think. I have a sense that maybe they'll be quite eager to unify over a single objective.
That's a fair way to lead anyone into battle, or to find a troop of people, find a common cause, common problem, what have you. Well, I will let you be harassed by more individuals now and stop hogging up all your time. But it has been most enlightening speaking to you, Ambassador.
And the same to you, Lord Dukundarak.
He will nod and raise his glass to you. He knows you don't have a glass, gives you a wink, because you are Warforged after all, and he will sort of put his hand in his pocket, his ringed, jeweled hand into his pocket, and he will make his way out. It is worth noting that what he is wearing is probably far more expensive than what the Queen is wearing. He's probably the most expensively, lavishly dressed person in the room.
Just wearing an entire jewelry store.
With the jewels he has on him, you could probably purchase a city. Probably. Yeah. But now let's find our way to Holden. Holden, you see, Cross being approached by this dwarven individual who's made his way away. Ludwig seems to be engaged with the governor and soon to be Lady Madani. Rowan is speaking to this, as you put it, hot elven lady of House Fjarlin. But there's many people in the room. What would you like to get up to?
Yeah. Well, first, I'm going to grab one of those flukes off of the tray and grab myself a little tasty taste and do a little twirl and then kind of make my way around the periphery of the room, kind of almost without breaking stride, but smiling and shaking hands as I go around. Not even necessarily stopping to learn anyone's name, but just kind of sort of like politician,
Yeah.
goodwill walk. Until I get to Baron de Vidalis, and then
All right.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time with him. I'm just going to kind of as I come up to him and put my hand, extend my hand to shake his hand if he shakes.
Yeah, he'll shake it. He's not gonna like turn and bow and all the shit. He
Right.
kind of like sees your approach. He kind of gives you one of those and like shakes your hand. And kind of
Right.
continues to.
So I'll take my other arm and kind of grab him by the shoulder and pull in close to him and kind of say under my breath, sometimes the dog and pony show is the best way to sell the popcorn and peanuts. And then I'll just kind of step back and smile and kind of make my way on.
You walk up the other way and he kind of like gives you a cocked eyebrow as if to say like, that was a fancy use number of words you just gave me. He's like kind of just like he's like, okay, sure, and he'll keep doing his thing.
And then I will stop by and say a quick hello to Baron Wilbert and Lady Ida.
Okay. Oh yeah, Baron Wilbur. And he goes, and Mr. Lord Lackyard, how good is it to see you again? You remember Lord Lackyard, don't you, darling? And she goes, of course, husband. We met him yesterday. And he goes, well, of course. He goes, and how are you doing today, Mr. Lackyard?
Very good, very good. Very nice to see you both here again this evening. It's always a comfort to see familiar faces.
I am sure it is quite a turnout here. I've never seen so many barons of Dragonmark houses in the same room in all my life.
Yes, it really is something, isn't it? It's almost sort of inspiring in a way.
You think so?
Well, certainly. I mean, no one's at each other's throats, as it were. It seems that everyone's getting along quite well.
He laughs very loudly from the belly as you say that. He goes, and his wife kind of like pats him on the shoulder with her fan, like, please. And he goes, sorry. And he goes, Mr. Lockyard, just take a walk with me. And he'll take you around. He goes, your sentiment is most endearing, but do you truly not see it? A man so well spoken as yourself, you do not see the war in the room.
Oh, well, I tend to try to cling as tightly as I can to a sunnier disposition and hopes for better days. So I suppose sometimes that means I think the lining is a little bit more of the cloud than one might otherwise observe.
Oh, I see. He looks at his wife, who like puts out her fan, like whispers something to him. He goes, oh, right. And he goes, a fine sentiment, Mr. Lackyard. How fares your troubles? I hope that some of them have come to a close, perhaps by now.
I don't know necessarily about a close, but I think we are making progress and in a most positive and constructive way. I think, while time is certainly of the essence in a number of different ways surrounding this event and the circumstances that we have to deal with, I think it's wise that we tread forward carefully, and I think we're doing that. I think there's an enviable balance to be struck by efficiency and thoroughness.
Wisely said. You are, if I may say, you are a man of, you have a talent for words.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And you, obviously, have wonderful taste And he kind of gives a little smirk and a wink at the lady again.
So you're too kind. She and she kind of smiles, and her fan just kind of for that moment goes between her and her husband. She kind of like looks you up and down.
Well, I should be off. I ought to try to be seen with the rest of the people with whom I came. I just wanted to stop by and say again a nice hello, and I appreciate your support and your attendance today.
And you as well, young man. And as you take off, I finally got a Baron Warburt's Avar out. That's what he looks like. He's a big, glorious man. So he's out and about.
Oh my! He is a big, glorious man. That's fantastic. He's like the human Carsey.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Oh man, and I'm working on his wife right now. But anyway, in the meantime, yeah, you head out.
And then I was going to stop by. I was going to join Rowan. So
perfect, because that's who I was about to swap over to. So Roman, as you sort of finish explaining your theory around the crash, your friend Holden Lackyard has been working the room, and he seems to make his way up to you. And Inara says, Rowan, are you not going to introduce me to your handsome friend?
You're muted.
Your silent spell is on, dear.
Lord Holden Lackyard. The most amazing bard you may ever have the pleasure of listening to hear. And darling.
And she will present a hand for you to kiss.
Oh, yeah. I'll certainly kiss her hand. And I'll say to her in Elvish, in what should sound like nearly impeccable Elvish, because he has a talent for mimicking speech patterns and accents. So, and he does speak Elvish. So he should sound a lot like an elf when he says some very complimentary greeting. Like it is my greatest pleasure. It's my greatest pleasure to make your acquaintance this evening.
And she will return the respectful elven greeting. And she will look to you, Rowan, and say, I am curious, Rowan, when you said the most talented bard you would ever hear, were you referring to me or were you referring to Holden?
I was referring to you.
And she kind of smirks at you, sort of playfully, Holden.
Oh my! I'm certainly no bard. I don't have much of a flair for the artistic or creativity, but I do have a lot of appreciation for it.
Good. We can work with that. Tell me, Mr. Lackyard, how's your time at court been? I hear you're quite the sensation.
It has been surprisingly enjoyable. I must admit I'm a little out of my element here, but I try to catch on as quickly as I can and to be as respectful as possible. And everybody has been very generous in tolerating my potential missteps.
He kind of looks at you, Rowan, looks back at him, and he says, humble. You can work with humble, I suppose. Rowan, is this a how do I put it? Is this a ploy? Is Holden a more braggadocious individual behind closed doors, or is this the true Holden Lackyard?
Oh, Holden looks at Rowan with interest. What would you say?
I think for everything you say, there's 3 things you don't. But I could be wrong.
Well, then I think we like Mr. Lackyard just fine.
He's discreet. We like him.
Discreet. Quite the enigma, then.
Well, I'm trying to make friends, and sometimes discretion is the better way to do that. Sometimes it's just a smile and a wave.
You are skilled in the power of subtlety, then. I'm curious, if you are not a bard and you're not a creative, then what are you?
Oh, I am an information broker.
Oh.
I tend to do the work, the legwork, as it were, that other people don't necessarily have the time or the desire or the ability to do. I try to find locked doors and explore alternative ways to open them.
My. Very interesting situations you get yourself into, indeed, Lady DeKenneth. Well, shall I be the one to proposition you both, or shall you be the ones to proposition me?
Oh, I have to say, I don't ever mind being on the good end of a proposition.
Well, then let's see what this talented bard can do. And she will like take your arm. She'll kind of like take your arm, Rowan, or she's already got your arm, Rowan. She'll take your arm with the other, Holden, and it's kind of funny. It's like, oh, look at them, isn't that funny? But she still walks poised as she like takes both of your arms and kind of walks with you for a moment and then kind of drops her hands into a more elegant stance. It's a small amusement that pays well, it seems. She says, well, you are going to notice that there is a lot of barons and baronesses in the room. But you're going to notice that there is a couple of barons and baronesses that are not in the room. I, in case you missed it, represent House Fjarlin. And I must, to you, Holden, personally say that you must understand that the Baron of my house is here by my persuasion. I know Rowan, and I thought it best that a friend come to speak. But there is another Baron who is not here. Do you see House Thurani's Baron anywhere?
I must admit that I haven't.
Yes, indeed. There are two marks of two houses that possess the mark of the shadow, and only one is present. Seems not all are interested in the mark of... Well, you haven't determined what your mark should be called. Have you determined what you are going to call your mark?
We've batted around the idea of diplomacy, but
Oh.
we are still working towards being diplomatic.
I see. Working towards being diplomatic. Well, House Fjarlin is very accepted. And we did not do something as crass as send our great leader out to try and impress you with gold jewels wrapped around our fingers, like you might have noticed. Which one was? Of course, House Conduct, probably the most gauche house of them all, if you don't mind my saying. Now, with all of the insults aside, we are the House of Entertainment. We are the House of Fun. Mr. Lackyard, you seem to like to have fun.
Oh, I love a good time.
Well, I guarantee you that there is plenty of diplomatic work to be done for a House of Entertainment, as you can no doubt guess. And it is also worth noting that that work isn't work that involves the endings of the worlds, or giant plane crashes, or monsters around every corner like House Thrash might, who notably has not sent a representative.
I favor not dealing with air crashes. I'd like to know who did this one, don't get me wrong, right? Like I'd like to know who did this, but beyond that, I would like a future that was more in line with entertaining than killing monsters.
It could potentially be an easier life. We have our challenges, but nothing so tiresome. And it is worth saying that we have no need to control you. We are here to help you build up your new house. That is what House Fjarlin sees. Help mentor you, teach you how to use your power best, and when you're ready, let you out into the world, kick you out to the bird's nest, and let you take on Corvair for yourself. That is all we think, all we seek. How does that sound?
That has been one of the more appealing proposals I've heard so far.
Is that true, Holden? Off table?
Yep.
Yeah, take a persuasion check.
Dirty 20.
Dirty 20. She looks at you. She goes, huh. She looks at you, Rowan, and says, at what parts in my proposal did I trick you?
Me?
Or you, Mr. Lackyard?
But she was talking to Rowan, right?
She says that to Rowan, but she turns to you as well, and she says, and you seem fairly persuaded, Mr. Lackyard. Do you know at what point I tricked you?
When we met?
Perhaps, but not the point I was... that's the time I was trying to point to. Well, allow me to share. I pointed out at some points in my insulting of the other barons and houses that you would notice House Durrani has not bothered to send an envoy because they do not care about this new mark. Well, there is a reason for that. House Fjarlin has dominion over business done in Western Corvair, whereas Durrani has domination over business done out in Eastern Corvair.
Ah. This is something that I was not aware of. Thank you.
I say this in simpler means to demonstrate that we have our skills in diplomacy as well, and that there is something to be said about knowing your enemy before meeting them. Not that you're my enemies, of course. But we know things, we hear things while entertaining. And she will, she'll like take a drink off a nearby, passing waiter, what have you. Yep, and you take one as well. And the gentleman will stop to offer you one, Holden, as you are without a drink.
I'll take another one.
Yeah, you'll take another one. And she'll say, I think I have demonstrated the abilities of my house well enough. Rowan, you have experienced my house's skills yourself. And I'm sure, Mr. Lackyard, there has been at some point in your past where maybe you have come to one of the House Fjarlin entertainment centers and maybe seen for yourself what we're capable of. So I will leave you at this, with my discretion of this wonderful conversation, and we'll be around if you wish to speak some more.
As she walks away, I'll nudge Rowan and I'll say, the singer on board the airship. The singer, do you remember her? She was House Fjarlin.
She was.
Interesting.
An information broker would do well allied with House Fjarlin.
Oh, I have no doubt.
Rowan, you have 3 points with Inara. Per your previous relationship, and Holden, you will have 1 coming out of this conversation.
All right.
Anytime, feel free to ask me about relationship points. I've been missing them here and there, but I've been keeping track. All right, let's circle up. Ludwig, you are currently speaking, or actually, we're about hitting that time, aren't we? But that's okay. We will pick up where we left off next session. We will pick up with your conversation, Ludwig, as it is the most immediately pressing one with the Lady Madani and the governor of your Wynar and his wife.
Yeah, I was about to introduce Marina to our wonderful lawyer to the members of the royal family and talk about how amazing and brilliant she is.
Fantastic. Well, we will do that next session, and we will do our new reputation system next session, where I think all of you are actually going to do quite well for yourselves. And yeah, things are moving in the right direction. We're gonna keep playing with these new mechanics, and I hope everybody is feeling them. And it's going to take some time to feel if they're right for us, but I have faith that these are going to point us in the right direction, these new systems. And I hope everyone had fun. And please, as a reminder, if anyone ever is feeling the need to give negative, positive, any kind of feedback whatsoever, I'm available at any time for a text or a call. I want to make sure that this game is fun and working for us in every way we need it to.